Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 329. Hopefully, you guys have had a great weekend. Well, I've got one for you guys, you organic guys, tonight. We've got K&F Gardens here tonight, or Bad Company Seeds, right? Both, either or
That's
applied
correct.
to you. Welcome
Yeah,
to the
either or.
show tonight. Tell us where we can find you and how you're doing tonight, good sir.
Well, thank you, Eagle, for having me. You could find me on Instagram at knf_garden, and there's a link in my profile for my Bad Company seedling for my Autoflowers that I breed. But thank you for having me.
Nice. Hopefully, one of those amazing moderators will be throwing that up throughout the interview tonight for everybody in chat if they are interested. They're usually pretty good about
Awesome.
that. So. Well, I
Sweet.
again thank you for joining us tonight. And do you have something to smoke on? I know I kind of asked you beforehand, but no
Right
worries.
now, I wanted to give you my undivided attention.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, what would you have been smoking on tonight if
Well, my trust
we
and true
weren't one?
OG, I love OGs. I'm an OG man. So some OG Kush. I would have rolled it up in either a blunt or joint, but I'm a blunt man as well. I know get a lot of hate on Instagram when they see me throwing up blunts and this and that. But you want to know what? They're just awesome.
Well, the way I see it, it's your medicine. You can ingest it any way you like. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
So what are you smoking on? What's your preferred method of smoking?
Well, I prefer joint. You know, uh, you know, blunt. Not necessarily a blunt, but a big joint. I do have like, I a good sized roller here. So it's blunt size, but usually it's
Yeah,
in one of these element papers, one of the big element
I see. I
kings.
see. The rice one.
Tonight I'm not going quite that big, but tonight I'm smoking on some Menanja Delight from Canna
Oh, nice.
Queen Genetics. And
Very nice.
pretty good so far. I'm enjoying it. So, well, I guess we'll get started right from the get, like we always do with most people. What started you on your cannabis journey? Where did you get started, my friend?
Well, my cannabis journey starts at the age of 15. I used to be a very angry person, and I had one of my friends uh, come over to my house one day and asked if I smoked. And like anybody with peer pressure, yeah, of course I smoked. I had never smoked in my life, and he was like, "Yeah, let's smoke." So I had smoked my first joint at 15, and it absolutely scared the shit out of me. Yeah, it got me paranoid. I felt like like that restless leg syndrome where I felt like my legs were, it was weird and I didn't like it at first, but then I tried it again and I loved it. It's the only thing that ever relaxed me. I have an overthinking brain. It's the only thing that ever chill me out. But yeah, at the age of 15 is when I started it. And after that, I was like, yeah, this is definitely some true medicine to level me out for sure.
So, do you think that first time was maybe a pure sativa or something sativa is something that maybe made you a little bit more racy when you weren't used to that?
It had to have been because back in when I was 15, it was nothing but like Mexican brickweed, so it was mostly sativa varietals for sure. So I'm pretty sure it was that case. I smoked when I was young. I smoked nothing but it was super compressed. It was brown. You had to throw a bunch of seeds out of it. It was horrible stuff, but it did the job.
So, after that, how long was it before it was somewhat regular in your life? Yeah.
Regular. Well, after the first time, it kind of scared me for a bit, and then I tried it the second time, and I really liked it. And after that, I've never not smoked since then. Since I was 15, I smoked every day since since I've been since 15 years old. every single day. So it's kind of like it like took over my life. It's kind of like this. Cannabis is the first lie that was ever told to me. My whole life, they told me this or that, you're going to have this, you're going to OD that. And then when you try it, you realize like, wow, they lied to me. You know what I mean? So it's like, it opens the world up. Like, what else did they lie to me about? That's kind of how it affected me. It was like my first revealing of it revealed myself to myself, so to speak. And it was a very profound experience, to say the least.
So it sounds like, it was medical for you right off the bat. I mean, did you take it that way, or was it, just like most people, it feels good, so you kind of go with it, you know what I mean? I think all of us it felt so good, but we just didn't realize that it was medical. We just liked doing it because it felt good. But did it feel like it was medical for you back then, or was it still more on a recreation level?
I think it was medical from the beginning for the simple fact that how much it calmed my nerves. It was like a weird sensation to have. It's like I never went with the flow before cannabis. I always pressured things. I always put unneeded, pressure in my life. And when I started smoking, it pretty much told me to calm down and go with the flow. And ever since then, I've listened to just go with the flow, just be whatever in the moment. And my life has gotten better ever since that moment.
It's nice. That's very key too, is being in the moment. Took me a long time. I'm just realizing here, just turned 50 or not 59. Holy cow, don't
Well, you
rush
look good if
that
you're
shit.
59.
Just turned 49. I just turned 49
You
a
still look
couple
very
of
good for
weeks
49.
ago. And I'm just kind of coming across, living life in the moment, and being present. You know what I mean? I actually kind of caught myself today telling myself that, you know what I mean? I was like kind of worked up, and I just, a little voice in my head said, just be in the moment, focus in the now, and just block out everything else. And it just felt this like calmingness kind of come over me. And it's taken a long time to, realize that's what I need to be doing. Just worry about this moment in time and not to worry about everything else in life. I've read a lot of books on like forest bathing and Buddhism, and I'm trying to head down the right path these days. And boy, I do find a
Yeah,
lot of comfort in all that. That's for sure.
most definitely. Yeah. Well, the thing I love about
So
cannabis, it. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
no, no, please go ahead. You're the guest. I cut you off. That's
Yeah.
the other thing I forgot to tell you. Prelim was like, if I cut you off, please blow by that shit like you didn't even hear it. I tell everybody that because you are the guest, and sometimes I get a little mouthy. Sometimes I forget. Please go ahead, sir.
Understandably. What I wanted to add to that is the way that you come to that realization of giving yourself in the moment, sanctuary. That's what I love about cannabis. It forces you to be in the moment, and a lot of people are scared to do that. That's why I think it scares a lot of people as well. It forces you to. It's like it gives you that tunnel vision, so to speak. Everything, you get intense on that one task that you're doing, or with those thoughts that you let flow through your head. So yeah, I definitely I subscribe to that theory, to be in the moment, like you said.
So throughout your journey there, I mean, how was it? How long was it before you decided to take it up to the next level? And uh, well, I guess before anything, I guess these days you have to pull that medical card before you can do anything else. So, how long was it before you actually, had to take that step and get your card and go down that route? Or did growing come before
Well,
that? I
what
guess
made me
growing
want to get
could come before that.
grown? Yeah, it did. It very much so did. The whole thing with the growing aspect was I very well knew that all the weed that I was getting at the time, and cannabis I was getting at the time, was very, very nasty. I didn't know it. You know what I mean? I don't know what was sprayed on it, and that was my main thing. was to try to grow to see if I can grow the best cannabis that I can find. You know, I couldn't find it, so might as well grow it. And that's what got me down the path. They say, it's funny, they say that cannabis is addicting, which is, you know, it's a bold-faced lie. What is addicting is growing it, because even if I try to stop, I couldn't probably. You know what I mean? There's no way. It's like my first plant, done. I was addicted. It was just an intense feeling to see the process for yourself for the first time. Very much so.
You know, I'm very much on the record of saying that I think for most of us, even though, like, if you were not lucky enough to start growing the plant before, not everybody was brave enough, like me and you, to throw some plants in the dirt before before we were supposed to, and start on that journey a little bit earlier. So I think what I've said is I don't think a lot of people. I think cannabis in a lot of ways is recreational for most people, even though they have a medical card. You know, they're reaping some of the benefits. It is a medication for them. It does help them, but it's actually it isn't until you put them plants in the ground and you're in your garden. That's where the medicinal effect, I would say a good portion of it, comes through. You know, being in your garden, it seems to fade away a lot of anxiety. It does bring you into that peace. It pulls you into that moment that we were referring to. And that in itself is a good piece of the medicine. And it's that, you know, empowering. I'm making my own medicine that I think has a lot to do with the whole process, but it's through that first grow that, you know, it grows on you, and you develop a whole new respect for the cannabis. I think that's where it comes from marijuana, and then it turns to cannabis in that first grow right there. It just changes you. That in that first grow, you develop a whole new respect for the plant.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. One thing that's crazy is you know this. You have this relationship with these plants. You know what I mean? One of the greatest things that plants have ever taught me. It's like I very much so think they definitely have a language within themselves. But one thing they have taught me is through patience, great things come. And if you apply those things in other aspects of your life, you know, it does wonders. And there's just things that gardening itself can teach you as a human being, and or how to be a human being. In essence, it's such a there's a teaching moment every day that I'm in the garden. It's so peaceful. The fact that I feel like they're cultivating us, how strong the connection is, because it's crazy how strong the connection the plants have. It's like, you cheeky bastards, you know what I mean? You got us to Not only am I running around researching the world for the best soil and the best, like, you got a spell over me. What the hell, woman? You know what I mean? It's like it's the crazy, and I love it. You know what I mean? And I will go to the ends of the earth. And I've talked about cannabis from 15. I'm 30 now, so I've talked cannabis. I'm not lying, every single day from I was 15 to now, and it feels like the very first time. I could talk about it all day, every day, and it's a pleasure. And it's something that I don't see anything. I don't know. Nothing is most interesting as cannabis to me, to be honest with you. And it's crazy because when you start learning that you can make paper from this, fuels, medicine, and it's the plethora of things that this plant provides us, it's just even more mind blowing. And it's crazy. That's why when I go back to when you learn it's your first lie, it's intense that people are willing to lie and lock people up for something like this. It blows my mind. And especially somebody that, as yourself too, when you grow it, it's even more of a slap in the face, and makes you think about the leaders that we choose around us, that we're in a weird place right now. And I'm hoping through cannabis, we could change a lot of that. Definitely.
It is a very incredible plant. I mean, it like you're saying. Uh, I think it was said here. To to better us all in a lot of ways. It's funny that you what you said, that you think that we're here to take care of it, because I've said that in the past too. I think we're here to kind of cultivate but
Yeah,
I think it, as of late, uh, it was sent here. I really believe there's no coincidence that the surge of cannabis in this time and age is no coincidence. Humanity as a whole kind of is coming to a bad head, and cannabis brings out the better in people. You know what I mean? And in so many
absolutely.
ways. In growing it, it's a medicine, and as people as more and more grow it, it's 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 making people. It brings out the best in people in so many ways. I mean, it's asking them to uh, to reach out for more and more knowledge in so many
Absolutely.
ways. That mean I've seen so many people from so many walks of life, you know, come into cannabis and just go down this incredible search for knowledge, through the soil, through, IPM tactics. There's so much that people have gained through this wonderful plant, and it's no coincidence. And one thing I wanted to throw out to you, because I believe in a lot of frequency stuff too.
Me too.
But I heard you say that the plant talks to us, or it can communicate with itself. I was watching. I've interviewed a great gentleman from Midnight Roots. Great guy from Midnight Roots, and I follow him on Instagram. But he's a big component of frequency as well, and how plants can communicate with each other. And he put out this cool video on Instagram the other day. I don't know if you've seen it, but he had hooked up
Oh, I seen it.
these prongs to the plant. Did you?
Gotcha.
How cool
Yeah,
was
I did.
that each plant
Yeah,
had a different melody and everything?
yeah, I did
It's
catch that. Yeah,
So I can't help but wonder if we pick up on that subliminally, and it is got us under its spell, under that lovely tune that we can't pick up on other than that
1000.
kind of a microphone.
I agree with you 1000. And not only that, we take me and my wife. My wife helps me out tremendously. My wife, let's say I'm like flustered one day, or she sees I'm kind of upset. She'll tell me like, "Hey, you need to get some positive vibes before you enter that garden, because those girls are gonna feel you." And she's absolutely right. When I go in there, I need to be 100 for them, because they are 100 for me. And they absolutely have a language. I could walk into a room and I could see the girl all the way in the back, and she's telling me like, "Hey, I really need you to spend some time with me. You need to take a look at me, go over me," just by her position and just how her leaf is holding, and how just the way that the way that the leaf is on the plant. It's a crazy sensation. But absolutely, I believe in frequency, and that's why I also vitalize my water as well. I feed my plants vitalized water, just to remind the water of the love. But yeah, I'm very much into frequency. We are frequency 100%. But everybody tells me like, "Oh, how do you do this and that?" Well, guess what? I asked the universe for it, and then I watered in hard work. Simple as that. Like everything that I've ever gotten, I've literally transmitted that out frequency wise, but I added a ton of hard work, and it's always come through for me 100% of the time. It's never let me down. So I agree with you. Frequency is definitely, and if you are in tune with that frequency, that's when I believe the plants respond to you the best, because they feel that love. They could feel it 100%, 100%.
Man, it's nice to when you resonate with somebody. You know what I mean? They strike that chord when you both kind of believe in something. It's like, it's very, very gratifying to know you're on the right path, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so as you started growing there, tell us about the first grow. I mean, tell us about that first experience, that first garden.
so the first grow, I was researching. This was like before, like just right when the medical cards were just coming out, and I was researching a bunch of like it was like a Craigslist of like cannabis stuff. And there was this guy, this clone guy, and I went to this building. I thought it was like somewhere in Los Angeles. I went into this room. He had a bunch of clones, and they're kind of like sad looking. And I was like just excited just to be around plants. And I got a bunch of like Bubba Cushes, and I was crossing my fingers and hoping they're all true crosses or whatever it was. But the only one I remember that I had gotten was a Bubba Kush, and one of the first ones I ever grew was that varietal. And it's funny because I grabbed them and I got a bunch of like 15-gallon pots. I got probably about like 30 of them, and my parents weren't happy about it, but I was like, whatever, I'm doing this. So I put like 30 Bubba Cushes, and I put them in clone, and I didn't realize that I never paid attention of like when you're outdoor, there's a certain period of time, especially if you have a clone that's 24 hours of light. I was like, whatever, I'm gonna throw this thing in a big old 15-gallon. Man, the thing started to flower immediately. I was like, what is going on? And then I started to research stuff, and it was just like, oh, okay, I'm an idiot. Like, and then I learned about monster cropping is when you intentionally like revert something back, and it'll literally start throwing like banana leaves, and it turns into a monster. It'll start throwing branches like crazy. And so my first grow ever was like 20 Bubba Cushes that I accidentally monster cropped. It came out really shitty, but I was very excited. But yeah, it was my first grow ever, my first ever grow. Definitely a learning lesson for sure.
So what kind of pots, what kind of lights? I mean, let's peek into the room a little bit.
Well, it was an outdoor setup. It was those regular plastic 15 gallons that 15 gallons, and I had used supplemental lighting to trick them after I found out what I had did wrong, and I just let them go full term after I got them to where they were finally comfortable with the light, and then I let them go full term. But yeah, and the soil that I used like Home Depot soil. That soil that has a lot of bark in it, that it's like really shitty, it's super acidic. You can never get any good pH out of that soil. It was horrible. I had no idea what it was. And I remember buying what is it, like bloom boosters, those powdered ones. It's like a white powder. I don't know if you've seen them, those Mega 50/30 boosters. I thought like, yeah, I'm gonna get really, I don't know. I was totally non-organic when I first started. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you. It was very hit and miss for sure, but I was having fun nonetheless the whole time.
So what changed from the first grow to the second row?
Well, like everybody that grows, and you can attest to this, when you have a harvest, you're always like, damn, I wish I threw out 20 more. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. So then what I did, you know what I mean? Like, so what I did was I did some hardcore researching. At that time, the forum really big into the forums. So wait up.
No worries. We're
sorry
still
about
here.
That. Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
What's up, brother? Sorry about that. About that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch it up on you. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, so I don't know if you were big into the forums, probably about like 10 years back or a little more than that. That was like the only information that you could get was, going into the forum site. So I started researching organic forums and getting my information there. But as you know, everybody wants to be a teacher in a forum, and they hear one thing and they repeat it 1,000 times. And even if it's bad, you'll hear it. Everybody wanted to be like the sticky post, you know what I mean? They wanted to be the teacher. So I was learning a bunch of bad information off of the organic forums, but through that, I learned what not to do. So I started getting my information from people that, I don't know, Kevin, Kevin Georgery? Hopefully I'm not saying his name wrong. I started learning from guys like him. And when I started learning from guys like him, that's when my game really increased. I got into like, okay, people that really care about the plant. And then that opened my mind to a whole new world of
awesomeness. And then if you go down the path of organics long enough, it will take you to KNF or to probiotic growing or plants feeding plants. And that's where I am today. I'm at a level where the only thing I feed my plants are other plants.
Well, that's a pretty amazing journey. I mean, so how long did it take you to get down that path? I mean, how many grows
I would have
from
to
then
say
till?
it took me about 6 seasons outdoors to get to where I started learning, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be top dressing. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe I shouldn't be doing the teas this way, or maybe I shouldn't be using that organic line because there's one ingredient in it that I found out it's not organic. They say it's organic, but it's not organic. That happens a lot. You'll run into an organic product that you think is, but it's got some like weird stuff in there that you wouldn't consciously use it if you knew about it. But a lot of those products, it's it's sad. You know what I mean? You think you're getting something organic, but you're not, and that's why I like the plants. It took me, I would say, about the last 5 years of my journey. I've finally come to the conclusion of where I'm at today.
Well, that's not too long of a journey from A to B, to be honest with you. I think that's honestly a short path. I'm actually, I've went back and forth. I've started in soil because that's the only thing I could freaking find at the time, and then have went back and forth from cocoa
Yep.
to pro mix, back and forth. I've kind of went back to soil. I've tried the super soil, and currently back into cocoa, but organics has pushed its way back in. Mr. Smiley's Gardens, who's in chat now, and who does the organics takeover version on the show here on the channel, is forced his way in over here with the takeover and brought some earth boxes and a type of coots mix, and I don't know, it's definitely opening my eyes. Well, with that being said, and him being around so much, I hate not knowing stuff. When I'm talking with somebody, I hate to be in the dark. So as he's been around, I've been fucking you know reading a lot of organic type books and getting more and more interested as I go. So 20 years into it, I'm just starting back deep into the organics rabbit hole. So 5 years, dropping the head. You're way ahead of the game in my book. Way ahead.
And the reason why that I've come to these conclusions is because of failure. Straight up, to tell you, I have failed a lot, and I've built myself up from failure. So the methods that I use now are try and true in my little system that I have, because I've seen plants go from wow, horrible, totally horrible, sad to gorgeous with techniques that I had to expensive lessons that I had to learn. Very, very expensive lessons. But yeah, if you're getting into the organic growing, and if you want to definitely wrap your mind around some philosophies, you should look into the KNF principles. A lot of people, they'll get into KNF and they will start looking up all the inputs, and then they kind of become like a it's like a cult almost. Sometimes it's they will start doing the inputs, and then they're not really focusing on the philosophy of why these inputs are working. And it's when you start making your own nutrients and you start realizing what makes up a nutrient, how you make a nutrient, you start realizing these companies that are making nutrients, how easy it is to make a nutrient. It's very, very easy to make nutrients, and I can understand why companies are scared, because if they found out how easy it is, it's too much power for an individual, I think. And I'm all about empowering individuals, because if you realize how much power you have available to you, it's an immense feeling.
Well, it's one of them things too. When you slip down that road to the K and F, those who are running the K and F are, boy, it's one of them things. Back in the day, it was wow, it was let's see here, the no-till revolution. But now, like you said, it has slipped now into the K and F revolution. You know, organics and the no-till revolution, that was over. But now you guys are pushing the fight a little further down the line, and
Yeah, no,
can't thank you
definitely.
guys enough.
Awesome. Yeah, where I started my journey with KNF, what got me sparked with KNF is Chris Trump. I don't know if you ever heard about him. Yeah,
Yes,
Chris
of
Trump
course.
was my first person that ever introduced me through his videos. I came across his videos and it blew my mind. I was like, what in the heck is this guy doing? You know what I mean? I was like, this is interesting. It's just, for some reason, it spoke to me as a person. I was like, oh, this is real cool. This is something I could get into. You know what I mean? And then I got into somebody called Drake out in Hawaii. I don't know if you heard him. He teaches KNF as well. It's another guy, Drake. I like Drake the way he teaches too, because he teaches a lot of the philosophy. He tries to make you understand like the philosophy of what's going on, how to look at it in a more simpler term to help you understand why you're doing the things you're doing. And then Chris Trump does a great job as well, but sometimes it's a little lost in translation the way that he does it. But they're both stand-up guys. And then I started learning off of people off Instagram. Instagram has been a really good resource for me because I started learning off a lot of people off Instagram. And I started taking in a bunch of information. And it's crazy because I'll learn like the Kenneth style that I do. It's based off of I don't know if you heard of World's Last Hope.
Yeah, he's in chat.
So check this
He's in
out.
chat. He's been on the show. He's been on the show many times too. Cool
Yeah,
guy.
so I've learned off of people that he's taught that I never even knew about. So I was learning all these techniques, and then I found out he was the guy teaching all these guys that I was learning because he's cannabis specific. He was doing things that were for cannabis specifically, which sparked my interest because I grew cannabis. And I one day I reached out to him and started talking to him, and I realized that it was him that was teaching all these techniques. So I started to get more involved in learning the philosophies and all that. But yeah, he was definitely a part of my KNF journey for sure. He's a really good guy to. What's crazy about World's Last Hope is he will break your mind, the way your mind thinks of KNF, he'll break those chains. Because it's like I'm telling you, the other KNF guys, they're not really doing it they're now doing it for cannabis right now. I can see a lot of them, they're starting cannabis stuff, but mostly they're growing vegetables and stuff like that and food products. And he was the first guy to ever do cannabis related. And his approach to it was mind blowing. It's kind of like how great minds think alike. When you come across something, you're like, that's how I would approach. You know what I mean? You're like, that makes sense. That just sits well in my head. So I started learning more his take on it, and then I started adding my twist to it. And ever since then, it's been a wonderful journey. I can't thank him enough. He's definitely helped me a lot how to see and approach the principles of how I look at my nutrients for sure.
Well, I'm sure that him being in chat and hearing this unsolicited thank you has probably got him cheesing a little bit right now.
He
And
should.
he is a
He's a
good
good
dude,
dude.
very, very good dude, knowledgeable guy, and it's been a pleasure to have him around. He's done a spotlight episode on the show, and he pops in from time to time in the wormholes there. So yeah, great guy for sure. Great source of knowledge, and
Absolutely.
glad that you've referenced him, by the way, tonight, especially when he's in chat.
Yeah, no. But what I like doing is we've been actually brainstorming. We'll brainstorm. We'll sometimes we'll have chats. He holds these chats, and we'll sometimes brainstorm. We've been working on some stuff. You know what I mean? It's cool. Like he I don't know if you heard the root beer tech that I do. I don't know if you've seen that me do that. Well, he's the one that I got it
I have.
off of him, and then I've added my little twist to it, and he has a twist to it. Everybody that does it puts their own little twist to it, but that's the cool thing about the Canet philosophy. You use what's around you, you use your intuition. You know what I mean? You could add. It's kind of like it's like I would say it's like wizardry stuff. It's straight up like magic, I would say. You're literally mixing stuff up and you're making wonderful things happen. And it's cool because to be specific about the way that I grow. So the way that I approach organic growing, if I can give anybody advice, because a lot of people, I get a lot of questions on this and that. The one thing that I would tell anybody is to have a really good soil base. And if you ask me what that may be, whatever you're really comfortable, it's got to be something that could be recycled. Get a soil that has something that, at least that you can recycle, and that you can make a living soil. That's one thing that I would advocate. Try to shoot for a living soil. I don't know. Do you run living soil at all?
No, the soil that I have in here is basically just a coots mix. No earthworms, no nothing, just castings and some inputs. And but no, it's not a living soil per se. It's something that I'd like to get into, but as a caregiver um, that runs perpetual harvest, it's hard for me to incorporate like a living bed into my rotation. It was I had I had reservations for bringing in the organics because of that reason. To be honest with you, I was afraid all these years I ran or soil and organics, but it had been a long time ago, and was worried about it throwing off the system, me not having to water as much, the plants being a little more laggy, you know what I mean? But that wasn't the case, man. They went step for step with the cocoa. The Cootsman went step for step. So, I was excited to get that, see that and be more open about maybe bringing it back in. But to do a living bed and to be able to do the rotation like I'm doing now, I see that to be a hiccup. I see it as a benefit. I'd like to be there, but in my system, I don't know how to incorporate it.
What's your issue that you run into? Do you pH all everything? Do you what are you like afraid of? Not afraid of, but what's making you hesitant about it?
Well, it's the rotation of it all, because it is a perpetual. I'm intense, and things move pretty quickly. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm constantly up potting. I go from a solo to a 1 to a 3 to the 10 to just kind of for space reasons, basically. You know
Especially,
what I mean? It's easier to keep, yeah, and then move them up as needed. You know what I mean? Bump them up and put them on deck for, and it's hard to establish that in a living organic system to where I'm not constantly shocking them. I think would be the problem. And it would take up. I'm more or less. I think it would take too much room to put them in their home and keep them there. You know what I mean? Uh,
yeah, no, I
that's.
understand.
I
And you're
guess
running
that's
cocoa,
my
right?
hiccup.
You're running cocoa, or is this with living
Yeah,
soil?
yeah, cocoa.
I never really had a. It's weird. The weirdest thing I had with cocoa, I could never get them to really respond to me until flower. Like they never liked me until flower for some reason in cocoa. I don't know why. I always run into that issue with cocoa. Like I'll be. It will work great in veg, but it's not like a living soil. If I keep, also too, if you next time you should do an experiment with like a 10 gallon. You should get some good base soil, and you should buy a really high quality powdered humic acid. I'm a really big advocate on humic acid. If you get a very good high quality humic acid, it will alleviate a lot of problems that, unbeknownst to you, might be happening in the medium. It just makes everything play nice. So if you add anything while you add humic acid, it'll make sure it plays nice in the medium with your roots.
That's a pretty good benefit. Is that the only benefit adding it?
Actually, I'd see it as this. You could see it as I see it as a lubricant for nutrients. It helps your plant uptake nutrients in wider pH range. It will also allow you to it allows the medium to buffer a lot of nutrients. That's the main thing that I use humic acid. I use humic acid with every watering that I have. Every water I will not water without humic acid. every watering is a humic acid watering. I don't know if it's like a humic. I'll use
That
humic.
says a lot.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've and this is from experience. Two of my main things that I use is humic acid and soybean amino acid. I don't know if you've ever used a soybean amino acid.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you're going to go to a living soil, in my opinion, this is my opinion, soybean amino acid is one of the highest quality nitrogen sources that you could give a living soil. What's crazy about it comes from a plant source, and it actually gives the plant energy. So the plant, it comes from a familiar source. So when it sees it, it doesn't have to use any energy to take it up. It's actually given energy. And then along with the humic acid, it's kind of like a humic acid with with the amino acids. It's like a powerhouse. It's something that I've stumbled across, that I could take any garden that's sick, and if I feed a humic acid and a real high quality soybean amino acid, it will turn any plant, as long as your water source is from around 6 to about 7.8. If your water source is within that and you add humic acid and a high quality soybean, you will have a very lush garden. I don't know if you see my garden, it's extremely lush. And it's lush for those two reasons.
That's good to know. I actually just started to add some amino acids to the plants here with the organics. It came with the organics. You know,
What is it?
Smiley's little to-go pack here. This is from Bokashi Earthworks, Brandon Russ.
Brandon Russ. Yeah, he's real. Yeah, he runs soybean. Yeah, that stuff right there. That stuff's really good. That stuff is amazing. Oh, that amino acid. Yeah. Yeah, that
So
if you
should
add,
be adding humic with that as well, huh?
yeah. So I add about like half a, I would say 1/4 for every 5 gallons of water of humic acid with every watering, just to make sure everything plays nice. It helps me sleep at night. I know that if something's happening in my medium, that the humic acid is buffering the situation, and and even if it does swing, it can uptake in a situation where it's not optimal. It makes something that's not optimal, and it literally forces it to be optimal. In my trials with it, I've used many humic acids. It cannot be from a bottle as well. If you use a humic acid from a bottle, might as well get some water, get a bottle, put some dirt in the water, shake it. There you go. It's like it's useless. It has to be 80% or higher in concentration. If you don't get it 80% or higher, you're not going to see any visual benefit from it whatsoever.
So, are you still outdoors to this day? Is that
Right,
your main gardening?
yeah, right now I'm doing some light depth. So I do a greenhouse situation. I got 2 greenhouses that I'm running, and it's definitely the way that I want to stay right now. I am all solar, 100% solar greenhouse.
Nice. That's a tough system to run right there. Would that be your ultimate system? Just the greenhouse, keeping it in the greenhouse? Would you go indoors at all ever?
I would go
Would you ever
indoors.
even consider it?
Yeah, I actually, if someone, gives me an offer for it, yeah, I'll take it. I could do some indoor for sure. The reason why I like the greenhouse is for the full spectrum of the sun. You know what I mean? I really like cannabis that's grown with the sun. It's just, I feel like it's more healing. It's just personal opinion.
I could see that, to be honest with you. You know, I think there's something in the sun, you know what I mean? Some energy, not just, light, but there's an energy that comes with it. You know what I mean? You just feel it when you're out there in it yourself. You know what I mean? It just brings out that good mood just to see it,
It does.
sparks.
We are children of the sun after all.
I agree. I totally agree with that
Yeah, but
statement.
but definitely I love the depth. So that's something that I'm rocking right now, the depths, and it's something that I'm rocking hard. And the system that I'm building right now, as you can see, it's a pretty kick-ass system, if I don't say so myself. It's something that I'm very proud of. It's something that it brings me great joy every time I open my door and I'm greeted with extremely beautiful plants that just love me and want to bask me in the glory of their energy. And it's the most ultimate feeling in the world. I'm very lucky that I'm able to do this. And it's interesting because it wasn't always like this. I used to drive trucks for a living. I owned my own trucking company before this. Yeah, I drove trucks for like 6 years. I grew on the side personally, but I never, you know what I mean? I never got into how I'm getting into it now. I used to do the trucking thing, and until COVID came. COVID totally wrecked my life big time. Like it's just my life is 100% turned upside down since last year. And but I've turned it into a positive, to be honest with you, man. I went from working 20 hours a day in a truck to losing my ass to now I'm doing something that I've always dreamed of and wanted in my heart. And it's cool that I get to share it with everybody on Instagram.
Right on. I'm glad you found the dream too. Hopefully it prospers well for you, my friend. Hopefully it prospers well for you. So where do you source your inputs for a whole greenhouse, and what inputs are you sourcing?
So I import. So the only sources that I would say that I purchase are my. I sometimes make it, but I really like it in the enzymatic form. Is my soybean. So everything else I make. So this is how my approach when I go to grow with my greenhouse system. I will use my humic acid and my soybean as my foundation. So that's my foundation. And my other inputs, one of my favorites is an FPE. It's a fermented plant extract of cannabis leaf. So what you do is you would grab a bunch of cannabis leaf and then you massage it with 1-to-1 with brown sugar, and you put it in a bucket and you put something heavy over it. And in 10 days, you will be rewarded with liquid gold, and you collect that liquid gold. And that's one of my inputs, and that's super high in vitamins and hormones. So that's something that I use for my garden. And then also for my just like all the other KNF points for my calcium, I will use crushed oyster shell and ferment that with vinegar. That's one of the staples of KNF. And then I also will use the one thing that I do that will piss a lot of KNF purists off is where it comes to my bloom nutrients. So I have a thing that it's called a full spectrum bloom nutrient. And let me get the list for you guys. I got it written down. I was in my car, but I think my battery died.
I heard that tick, 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 and I kind of pulled my head down. I was like, oh no.
Yeah. So
Please tell me his battery isn't dead.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to start the car. The car is very, very loud. You probably wouldn't be able to hear me if I started it. So I was like, oh, whatever. So, okay. So this is where it differs. If someone were to see my bloom nutrient and they study KNF, they'd probably be very mad at me because I kind of don't follow the rules like in life. I like to do things my own way. So what I do is normally how they would approach it, they would cut up fruit and mix it 1-to-1. And they wouldn't mix the fruit. They would do individual fruits, and they would put sugar 1-to-1 and let that ferment for 10 days to 15 days. What I do is I actually I'll use mango, papaya, zucchini, squash, carrots, apples, and habanero, and I will use a slow juicer. And this is important. You have to use a slow juicer because you can't incorporate too much air and you can't oxidize the nutrients if you incorporate too much air. So I'll slow juice the carrots to get my liquid material. So then I can add all my other ingredients and I will blend it on slow in my blender, in a Vitamix blender. So already a KNF purist is screaming inside, probably like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, totally off the wall stuff. So I will blend all these ingredients to a nice thick gel consistency, and I will let that ferment for 15 days. And this ferment is a full spectrum ferment. This will make beautiful, tight, resinous flowers. It will make your flowers spit resin. And for a kicker, I also add my root beers, which is fermented root balls. So what you do is you get your old root balls, and you grab your root bulb of the root, and you add it to a 5-gallon bucket. You add water to that. You put like 2-3 cups of brown sugar. You let that ferment for 10 days. But at the 5th day mark, this is how I do it. This is my style. At the 5th day mark, I'll add 4 more cups of brown sugar. And then I'll take a little bit at the 5th day mark, and I'll add that to my bloom mix. And then I'll mix that up. And with the added enzymes, it makes the bloom mix more water soluble. It makes it extremely more water soluble. Actually, I almost burned my plants one day by experimenting with it. I was like, oh, wow, it makes it it almost makes it too strong. So I'll add that to my bloom mix at day 5. And then at day 15, I'll actually take some to collect. And then I'll let the rest remaining collect for like another 20-25 days, and it'll get more vinegar. So more amino acids will be present in it. And I'll add that to another bucket with water, and I'll throw biochar in that with some molasses, and I'll use that to inoculate my teas. So it's definitely KNF principled for sure. It's not, you won't read this in a KNF book. I'm going to tell you that much.
So a question that was in chat earlier, what would you say would be one of the better KNF books, in your opinion?
The KNF, I would read, the Master Cho has, there's an updated version of it, the Master Cho one, and also the Jadam one. I wouldn't necessarily advocate, you could read them if you want to do KNF. I would try to focus more on the principles of what it is. So pretty much the principles of KNF, if you're letting enzymes and microbes make nutrients that are stuck in cell walls of other plants water soluble. So that's the main concept that you have to get. It's not necessarily a book. You just need to get that concept down. You're using Mother Nature's enzymes and bacteria and microbes to break down plant matter so that you can have a nutrient source that's water soluble. But yeah, a book to read would be any of the KNF staples that are out there. I would say go look at YouTube. YouTube is a better source, I would say. Go look at Chris Trump and Drake and stuff like that. Learn the basics. And if you get comfortable, maybe you could start doing, with World Last Hope and what I do and some of the other guys. We're trying to push the envelope a little bit. We're trying to do specifically cannabis related stuff. We're trying to push KNF in the way that it's cannabis specific. We're doing things that are to benefit cannabis only. Yeah, it could benefit others as well, but we're only interested in cannabis. So that's our take on it. So I would say learn up on the philosophies, because once you learn the philosophies behind how a nutrient's made, your mind will be open, and you'll never see a nutrient company the same, because you're gonna think like, okay, well, how much am I getting ripped off here? How easy is this for me to make and have power in my own 2 hands to bring it to my garden that will benefit my family? Because in the end, we do this for family. I'm here to empower somebody's family because this helps my family out. And I know somebody out there is doing it for their family, and I want to help their family out, because I think that's sacred right there. A lot of people don't want to help people out anymore. It's sad. There's room for all of us at the top. A true leader will make other leaders, bar none. No excuses. If you want to learn, I will teach you. You know what I mean? I of course, there's a point where I would like to be compensated if I were to go out to a farm or something like that. But other than that, I give information freely a lot of the times. But if you're going to take my time, I definitely want, you know what I mean? I definitely I would want to be compensated for sure. But I see it as we're guys like you said, that in the KNF, it's getting pushed right now. We are pushing an envelope right now with cannabis that hasn't been seen before, to do things the cleanest way possible. These are guys that care tremendously about the world around them, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be. It's a pain in the ass to make all these inputs. It's not something that you could do just not thinking about it. You got to think it out. It's got to be a conscious thing that's thought out thoroughly. And it's a lot of effort. Instead of just getting a bottle off the shelf, no, you're going to grab some supplies, some sugar, some material. You got to make sure that you're monitoring, make sure that the fermentation is not getting soiled by any bacteria that shouldn't be in there. I see it as this. I see it as It's like, have you ever smoked meat? Are you familiar with smokers?
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
it's like a Traeger versus a stick burner. I'd rather have the stick burner. Yeah, you got to monitor that fire. You got to throw those logs in every 30 minutes, half hour. Uh, but you get a more controlled burn. You have a more control over your situation. It's the same thing with KNF. It's somebody that wants total control over their garden, to be a master, a true master at their craft. And that's what I am after. I am trying to understand. I need to understand. I cannot lie to myself. Something that is, I find a lot of us are having common. We do not want to lie, because what the first lie was cannabis was bad. No, it's not. I'm still alive. I've been smoking forever. How dare you lie to me? What else are you lying to me about? You know what I mean? It's that rabbit hole. So power to the people.
So after you mixed up your nutrients there, how do you determine like strength levels? How and what to feed?
So that's where you go back to KNF. Like, they'll normally have like 1 to 5 milliliters. So you want to start with the principle, how they normally uh, dose KNF recipes. You want to start from 1 to 5 milliliters, and through trial and error, 100%. It's all done through trial and error, but you want to start from 1 to 5, because all of these nutrient extracts are highly concentrated. If I give too much of my full spectrum bloom nutrient, I'll burn all my tips and I'll burn all my leaves, just like a really high PK booster would, just like that. But yeah, do trial and error. Trial and error. If I could tell anybody, trial and error. You listen to your plants. Your plants will let you know everything you need to know.
Nice. So what are some of the stuff that you can source for like a veg?
For veg,
What are some of the
I would source fish. So one of the things that I do is I recharge my soil every 2 weeks with a fish amino acid. And the reason why I do that is because the mycelium and the microbes, they love fish. It's the ultimate food source for microbes. So every 2 weeks, I will inoculate my soil with with a fish amino acid to recharge my living soil. Because a living soil to me is something that has microbes, bacteria, beneficial bugs that are attracted with all that good life. But that's my approach. I would use FFA, fish amino acid, would be one of the ones I would go to if you're using for veg. But if you're, like I said, if you want to use something for veg, use a soybean amino acid. It to me, this is my opinion. This is where a lot of my stuff differs from a lot of other guys, is except for like guys like Russ Brandon. Russ Brandon would probably would agree with me. That's why he has gorgeous green lush plants, because the soybean amino acid, especially if you start learning the science behind what makes it so special and the fact that it's a plant feeding a plant, it's a go-to. So I would go with a soybean amino acid and a fish amino acid for your veg.
So is there you want to just maybe walk us through, the process and some of the stuff that you would offer throughout?
Yeah, definitely. Offer in what way? Can you clarify that?
Well, let's next step is early flower. What are some of the suggestions you would give us for like an early flower?
For an early flower, so I would just use my full spectrum bloom mix and use it from start. I use my bloom mix from beginning of onset of flowers all the way. I will use it till chop day, all the way till chop day. Just my bloom mix, not anything else. Just that's safe to use all the way till chop, from beginning to end. Simple.
James Chung would like to know what's your thoughts on using fish wastewater?
Fish wastewater. See, that's the beautiful thing about KNF principles. You use what's around you. I believe if in your situation, if that's what you have, you can make it work for you. And since it comes from a fish source, the microbes will love it, because they love fish. Microbes absolutely love fish. They go crazy for it. So yeah.
So, well, what are some of your tactics What are just some of your tactics through flower?
through
I
flower. So
mean,
this is what
do you
this is
mess
what I
with your girls? Yeah.
this is what I
I
do.
keep cutting you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So this is what I do. My tactics. A lot of people like to this is what I'll do. I will start my fish, not my fish amino acid. I will use my full spectrum bloom nutrient at about 4 ounces per, I would say, per 30 gallons of water. I have 24 plants and they're all in 100 gallons. So each one will use about 5 to 10 gallons of water every 5 days, 5, 6 days. So this is how, like for instance, let's say tomorrow's a feed day. So I would prepare an FPE that I already have had, which is a fermented plant extract of cannabis leaves for hormones and vitamins. Then I would take my full bloom spectrum nutrient and I would feed it that. And I also will feed it some calcium from my fermented calcium from my oyster shell and um, vinegar. And one thing I use that's magnesium, I use powdered lignite. I think I'm saying that right. That's something that I'll use because it has a sulfur content to it as well. I don't know if you've used that stuff. It's kind of like pink. I use it in like a solution grade. It's like a pink powder. It's very fine. And that's one thing that I don't ferment because it already comes with sulfur and other elements and magnesium that is just a good go-to. So those are the things that I will use during flower. And in the beginning, I won't use any. I'll just use my fermented, my full bloom mix. And like week 3 and on, I'll start adding the magnesium and the calcium more heavily. And then towards the end, I'll only finish off with my full spectrum bloom nutrient. So that's pretty much how it would go. But I keep it real simple. It's I only use super simple. I will use only 3 for veg. I'll even use like 3 inputs, and for flower, I'll probably be up to 6 inputs. So I use 6 inputs in flower and 3 in veg.
What about training techniques? You want to talk about some kind of training techniques that you use in your methods?
Absolutely, I am an advocate for LST. I love training the branches and super cropping and topping. So I'll super crop, top, and LST to promote the auxins, the hormones, to allow lateral branching and root searching to give a very robust, thick canopy with lots of heads, lots and lots of sites. So LST, topping, and super cropping. I use those 3 techniques heavily. And stripping. I also strip as well. I'm an advocate for stripping. So I'll strip day 1 of flower, day 20, and I think day like 40, I believe, if need be. Sometimes it's not needed.
Do you super crop at all in flower, in the flower stages, in the first few weeks of flower?
I have. When they touch something, I've had some touch the same almost, and I'll super crop that bitch. I'll just be like, oh, no, you're not. Yeah.
Nice. I asked because early on I interviewed Sonia Wait What, which was a great guest. Female Russian grower. She came here from Russia early on, and then pretty awesome cannabis story. But she had one technique she had suggested during flower was super cropping. The first 1 to 3 weeks in between nodes, she was going through and just kind of giving them a little pop, 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 all the way. And I definitely instilled it and noticed a big difference when I incorporated that. But it worked well with the low stress training. You know, uh, right in the first few stages of flower, there it worked really well. I
Yeah,
was just wondering, since you
LST,
said
yeah.
it, I wondered if you had incorporated it like that as well.
Yeah, LST, I use that heavily. Without LST, there's no way. If you're not LSTing, it's pretty much training your canopy. If you're not LSTing, you're kind of not utilizing your space. That's how I feel. Like, I think it's a must because you could turn a situation that was all right to like, oh, it's a very good situation now. Dude, just training through simple LST. You don't even have to talk or anything like that. The amount of branching that you'll get, like a lot of guys will ask me why I don't take any of my lowers. I don't take any of my lowers when I'm doing big plants at least because a lot of the lowers will reach all the way to the top if you LST. The bottom branches will go all the way to the very, very top if you LST a plant. You will get those auxins moving around, and you'll get those shoots to just start shooting for the sky.
Nice. Oh, that's a good question there. Cheddar Bob has asked, have you failed any tests from using K&F too late?
Too late.
Can you?
I would say I don't use anything that's heavy in metal. So no, I'm not. I don't spray in flower as well. So my flowers are not sprayed at all. They're not sprayed, and I don't use kelp as well, because I know if you use kelp, you will fail a metal test if you're using kelp. So be careful with that. But no, if you're also yes, you have to watch out. There's some kind of inputs that ask for like sea things from the sea, and you have to watch out with those things, because you will fail tests when it comes to inputs that revolve around the sea life, because the sea life scrubs the world around it of toxins. So you got to be very, very careful when you're using stuff like that, like the fish stuff. I don't use the fish late into flower because of that. Yeah, if you get a fish that's high in metals or something like that, the possibility of failing a test is there for sure.
So from a K&F standpoint, I'd like to ask you, I make a lot of bubble hash. It's pastime. I need to make some bubble hash. But when I'm making my bubble, I like to feed that water to my plants. So from a K&F standpoint, what's coming out of it? And I guess moreover, now I listen to you speak a little bit. Should I be setting it aside maybe a day and throw some sugar in there before I feed it to my plants? Would that be a benefit to add some sugars in there before and maybe let it sit?
So check this out. Actually, World Last Hope is actually pioneered some of that. If you ever heard of the fermented bubble hash water, that's World Last Hope right there.
I haven't heard of it. It's something that I've always done because it just kind of made sense, to be honest with you.
Oh, no, exactly. You're absolutely right. Those are the things that are like kind of common, like great minds think alike. It's common sense. You kind of like, this feels like it would work. It's like it's intuition. You know what I mean? You're absolutely right. Yeah, it is beneficial. There's microbes and microbes that will cultivate to that goodness. So yeah,
in fact, as I talked to a lot of growers, through the years, I would tell them that they'd look at me like I was freaking retarded,
no, not at all.
Feed that shit to your plants, and I'm like, no, I'm telling you, they will love you for it. You know what I mean? They always perk up after that watering.
Yep. So check this out. That theory right there and that principle that you've come across is one of the biggest things that I could give anybody that's listening to us right now. Plants love to be fed other plants, period. If you ever come across anything that's ever, me personally, that's ever worked great for a garden, it came from another plant, 100%. Plants love other plants. That you should hold that in your mind and let that guide you. Plants love feeding other plants. They love it.
So they're kind of cannibalistic by nature, then, eh?
Right? Yeah, for reals. It's kind of like, okay. Yeah, it's a familiar source. It's something that they're comfortable with. It's something when it comes back to them, they're like, oh, it's like all right, I know this. I'm comfortable with this. I know this. I can dig this.
It is definitely a different ball game. So, how you're in your greenhouse now, but would you rather be in ground? Can you see the benefits of plants being in the ground and being able to communicate with one another through the micro process? Do you believe they can trade off? You believe that? Well, honestly, you're a living soil guy, so you honestly probably do believe that they can trade off nutrients back and forth and kind of tell each other, yeah, you need some of this, I got it over here, and can pass it a little bit through the soil.
Yep, that's the beautiful world of the mycelium and fungi. You know what I mean? They are an extension of the roots. And through that extension, they are sending their positive vibes and sending it out towards other receptacle beings, plant form or not. I agree with you 100%. Yes. They definitely definitely are connected on a deeper level that I don't even think we can ever understand, to be honest with you.
I do. I seen a picture the other day. I sent it to Smiley. I can't remember who the hell posted it, but it was a cool picture, and it was kind of uh, it was a perfect example of the how plants communicate through the network there. And it was two trees side by side, and the roots were like underground, and they were like shaking hands underground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, it's. I honestly believe that's the way it works right there. You know.
I agree with you 100%. And though I know I do container growing, so like I definitely they're probably have to send it through airwaves because they're not connected on ground level. But I'm gonna be switching to beds, so hopefully I could get that reconnected.
Do you expect to get the same performance out of beds? I mean, how
1000%.
difficult do you think that transition will be?
I don't think see the thing with the system that I have come up with, I believe I can implement it anywhere and it will make anything thrive. The thing about my system is I don't amend my soil, I don't top dress. I want a soil that has nothing in it. I want absolutely nothing in my soil. I want to give it everything. I take a hydro approach when it comes to feeding my plants. I give my plants everything when they need it, exactly, like I would say a blank slate, and then I'll charge the soil with microbes, and then after that, it's all me. After that, I'll feed the soil, and then the soil will feed the plant. But I definitely am not. I only get like if I don't feed my plants in 2 weeks, they will lose nutritional value. They will start turning yellow. I literally only I have them in 2 week increments with me, so I'm always feeding them constantly. Every time I water, I feed pretty much almost as well. It's rarely when I don't feed and water.
So, what do you
Very
plan
little.
to use for aeration in these beds? Just
Uh,
out of curiosity.
So the soil that I'm using right now, I'm gonna plug this Leaky Gardens. It's one of the greatest soils I've ever put my hands on. It's meant to be recycled. I, the the symbiotic relationship that the microbes will have with this soil will make sure that it's always happy, and it won't. I don't think I will ever run into a problem with a true living soil. This is a true living soil, something that's alive and it has its own ecosystem. You won't run into that problem because there's always gas exchanges and exchanges happening through different fungi and bacteria and different processes that are happening through the exchange of the roots as long as you're not overwatering, you're not going to run into any problems. I don't see that at all run into any problems.
So let's slip down another path, if you don't mind. Cannabis still. But let's slip down to the breeding side of things. Of course, your Bad Company Seeds, which is Bad Company is one of my all-time favorite beds, by the way. So I dig the seed name, by the way.
Thank
As
you.
soon as I seen it pop up, I was like, hell yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's pretty awesome. So let's head down that road. What made you decided to do a little breeding? What made you want to go there?
So the breeding aspect, I breed autoflowers right now, and a lot of people give me shit over that because a lot of people hate on autoflowers. But I see autoflowers as a very special thing to me for the simple fact I believe autoflowers are going to be the future, and I don't mean the future of cannabis like it's going to take over and everybody's going to be smoking autoflowers. No, I mean it's going to be that contact point for somebody that does not care about cannabis to an extent like we do, that can grow something and it be not how they don't have to worry about a light schedule and all this or that. It's very low maintenance. They don't take nutrients like regular plants. They're very they don't even they're light. You can have them on, and I grow mine in the shade. They do wonderful in the shade. I see autoflowers like the guitar hero, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like it's the guitar hero of the cannabis world. It's something that you could feel like you're being a part of it, but not having to know the chords or any of the lingo, or you know what I mean? So that's what got me into autoflowers. Oh, this is interesting. This is something that I want to dabble in. And what also interests me is the fact that their life cycle is only like 60, 70 days. So you can implement a breeding strategy and you can see it happen within a generation quick. You can have like multiple generations within a year. So you can learn breeding strategy through 1 year that it would take maybe somebody 4 or 5 years. So I use it as a training tool for my breeding so that I can practice my breeding strategy. That's the best way that I explain it. That's what got me into autoflowers, so that I could breed something and see if that quality was actually something that I was shooting for, and was it actually coming out in that plant, and I can see it happen quicker over time than it would take somebody like 4 or 5 years, like I was saying. I could have like 4 or 5, 6, 7 generations. Some of them are 30 days, they're done. I mean, like 60 days, they're done. Like insane, like totally done. 60 days, you're like, what the hell? So it's a very interesting plant, to say the least, and that's what got me into them. And I started researching a lot of autoflowers suck, though. I'm going to tell you that there is a lot of autoflowers that absolutely are horrible. I mean, they're just they have no flavor. Like they'll have smell and flavor, and then when you go to dry them and cure them, they lose everything. It's like what happened. Like, a lot of them will do that. So I went through many companies, and for fun, I picked all my favorites and I started breeding with them. So that's how it started. You know, that kind of background towards it. I was like, oh, cool. I'm gonna pick my favorites and I'm gonna learn how to do my breeding. So when I apply it to my main stuff, like, because I'm eventually gonna get into breeding regular cannabis lines, but I'll have a lot of knowledge on where I want to go beforehand, so to speak. But that's what got me into the whole autoflower thing.
Man, I love your perspective on like a fast forward crash course and a reasoning for going with the breeding of the autos first. Uh, I can dig it. I can dig it, to be honest with you. So, what are some of the triggers in autos? I think that's one thing a lot of people would like to know. And I'm confused about myself. You know what I mean? Uh, what are some of the things that actually trigger it into that flowering stage? And what are some of the things that we could do to buy us some time so we could get a little bit bigger plan out of it?
So the main thing I would say is resistance to the roots. When they get a lot of resistance in the roots, it'll make them flower. They hate resistance. If you can have something, that's why if you do an autoflower in like a DW, like in a hydroponic setup, they grow massive. They grow they have no resistance in the roots, so they're able to flower. They'll flower a little longer sometimes. Sometimes they'll flower quicker, but they'll get larger in the same time frame that it would be in soil. But yes, root resistance is what I would say. They don't like to be resisted in the media. As soon as they feel resistance, they start. It triggers that rootoralis in them, and it makes them do their thing. But yeah, I would say root resistance. You could use that to also to your advantage. You could trick it into either flowering faster or stunting it so that it kind of takes it out, and by up potting it where you get it to where it almost going to hit resistance, and you up pot it, and then it has a relief, and it kind of will extend it for a week or two, which is like forever for an auto.
So if you weren't gonna, think about, up potting it at some point, which would be the better method? Would you go for a short, wide, or would you go for a tall pot?
That is a lot of debate. I just feel like once they start hitting the sides of walls of the pots, they'll want to flower. Once they start hitting that resistance. So I would say for some reason I had better luck with longer pots that are like deeper. I mean deeper pots. I'm sorry about that. Like deeper pots. They like deeper pots because they are searching, and it takes a while for them to get to the corners of it and all the way to the bottom until they start feeling some real resistance. But a wider pot, it's not going to be too much, because once they hit that bottom, they'll any resistance. It's all about resistance with autoflowers. They do not like to be strangled in their root zone. So you want something that's free flowing as much as possible for as long as possible.
So you feel like that autos may be like the perfect choice for a sustainable outdoor grow to where you're
Um,
not depleting the soil. That's one thing that I'm kind of curious to see how things will turn out in the long run. As any other outdoor crop right now, we kind of got to shift things around. Corn can deplete a soil, so you kind of got to shift crops around. And I'm wondering to see how cannabis will treat a soil in multi runs outdoors like that. Or do you think we'll be better off in a light nutrient plant like autos outdoors where it might just be good forever on the same lot?
I see autos right now. There are some autos right now that are contenders, 100% what you just said, but they're very far and few between. There's probably maybe like a handful of cultivars that are really worth it, and the ones that are breeding are like Mephisto. Mephisto's breeding some killer stuff. Night Owl is fires coming out of Night Owl. Mandalorian genetics, extreme fires coming out of Mandalorian genetics. There's a Twisted Autoflowers as well. I think Twisted is a good one too. MedTree. I don't know if you ever heard of them. MedTree has some of the most underrated autoflowers. Their autoflowers are awesome as well. MedTree autoflowers are real good. But right now, I don't see anybody taking them really serious. Maybe for oil, I could see them as a potential for extract artists, 100%. Something that, especially like what Mandalorian Genetics is doing. I've bred with his Bobby's Widow. I really like his Bobby's Widow, and it spits everything you cross that to. It just spits resin out, and it's something I could see somebody running a bunch of those and then processing it all into extracts or something like that. But as of like main contender, it's not there yet. It's almost there, but I'm hopefully helping push that along too with everybody else out there in the world.
You outright snagged my next question out from under me about autos being the perfect choice for oils or extracts there. So gotta skip that one, throw that one right over. so what are some of the strains you're proud of that are available from you now that you're proud of? Well, you got to be proud of all of them, otherwise they wouldn't be on the list, right? I guess that's kind of an unfair question. But what's available? I guess there we go. What's available?
So I'm looking at like 15 autos in the background, but the ones that I put out are one I'm most happy with is my Victory Etsy, which is Mandalorian's Bob's Widow crossed with Night Owl's Wizard Apprentice. And that thing is, it's like on an F3 now, I believe, or F4. Man, that thing is wicked. I love that little plant. It smells like Fuel and Kush with like a blueberry pancake. Like, no, a blueberry hint to it. It's insane, man. It's nice, hard, dense buds. I love that plant. It doesn't get very big though. The autos that I have, they're not going to be something that you're going to put. It's going to get super huge. It's going to be something that you can grow. You're going to be very proud of. It's going to be very nice flower, but you're not going to be growing pounds out of these things. That's for sure. I see it as the Victor I see as the ultimate house plant. Something you put in a sunny area or in you know what I mean? But Victory at Sea would be my flagship, I would say. And then runner up from that would be my Queen Anne's Revenge, which is Mephisto's creme de la creme mixed with with Bobby's Widow. And that one is that one's weird because the Bobby's Widow blueberryness, it gave I found a creme de la creme that was blueberry as well, and it has like a blueberry pancake batter, like straight up mixed blueberry pancake batter. Smelled it. It smells just like that. Very interesting and deep with a chem funk to it. It's interesting. Yeah, that would be my
Sounds
second.
delicious.
Yeah. And then the other one that I have is my first what is it? My first female fem line is my Spitfire, which is a OG Kush Auto mixed with Landlocked Funk, which is binary seeds genetics. I mixed an OG Auto with that one, and That one is like the second generation. It's a real nice OG. It kind of smells like charas, like hash. That's what it reminds me of. Like the charas, like a very hashy smell plant to it. Like a OG to it, but more hash. More hash. But yeah, those are my three that I offer on the site right now that I'm proud of, that I would let the world see and put into their hands, and I think bring smiles for sure if you're in Autoflowers at least.
So I got a couple questions about auto breeding there. So how many rounds do you have to go before you actually got something that's auto stable, I guess you would call it?
So if you're doing a regular cross to auto, it'll take about 5 generations. See if you can't find auto trait in that. It'll take about 5 generations before you'll start getting something that's 100% auto. Probably about 4 to 5 generations. And you can kind of circumvent that if you were going to do, which is frowned upon by a lot of people, if you're doing just finding the females and breeding females to females, you can shorten that up. Because you're taking all the equation, stabilizing your I would say a variable out. So there's not going to be that many variables you're working with. You're kind of, you know what I mean? To get that. So there's 2 ways to go about it. But of course, like anything, you want to test it, make sure that you're not putting crap into the world. Of course.
They say you're on. They're saying here in chat your mic's a little bit funny. Is there anything we can do to maybe flip the phone around or to get a little bit better mic? Whatever you did, it sounds like I heard you a lot better.
Yeah, I think it's where
as soon as when you grabbed it there, I can hear you, but that's what they're saying. So my next question about auto breeding there is it better to take the auto male to a photo female, or take a photo female or male to an auto female?
What I like to do, I like to go with the male, auto male to me personally. I would go with I would find an auto male that I really like, a stud, and I would go and find a photoperiod females, and that's how I would go and approach it myself. Just for the fact that it's really hard to go about males, and if you find a really good male, you'll have at least a really good you'll get good males back. That's how I see it. You'll get, if you find that really good male, you'll at least have lineage of good males in there, auto males. And then when you get it, and when you find, because that's where it's really at. If you find a really good auto male, you can really make some females really, really shine. Because that's a lot of that's where the real, I would say, breeders shine, is they get those star males. Because everybody who cares about males? At least a lot of people don't really put too much effort into males except for breeders. So I would say find your starship male. That, for me personally, I would say, if you're going to try it, if I was going to do it, that's how I would do it. You could do it either. You could do it any way you'd like, to be honest with you, but that's how I would approach.
Right on. Kindred Grows is asking, can you ask him the most indica effect strain is, or that he has tried?
Indica effect. I am going to have to say Master Kush. I'm talking about the 03 Master Kush, though. The real deal. I have had an out of body experience with that weed. Yeah, the real deal Master Kush. I can't find it anymore. If anybody has it, please send it my way. I would love some real, like a 03 Master Kush. I think is like one of the ultimate Kushes that I've ever come across. It literally smells like if you were to go and get the best earth and soil and inhale it. It's like the flavors. That's my favorite flavor, is earthy, soily, dank goodness.
Anybody out there that has that Master Kush? I'll take 2. We'll take one, because if it's giving out out of body experiences, I definitely want to smoke some of that shit because I'm in for that kind of buzz.
Yeah, I smoked that, and I was literally walking with some buddies, and I took one step out of my body, and then my body caught up with me. I mean, what was my body? It was the weirdest sensation I've ever had in my life, and only Master Kush has ever done that to me. And I will forever always have that dear to my heart. It's just something that always, it's just, I think it's the flavor, everything. It's just, it's an amazing plant.
Oh man, you know, a lot of that feeling would scare a lot of people, but not me. Not me, man. I've always joked around about the whole reefer madness thing, how that was supposed to scare people. I'm like, shit, man, I'd love to hit some of that reefer madness weed.
It's like that commercial with that girl that melts into the couch. Like, shit, I'll take 2 of whatever she's having.
For me, man, for me, that right there, that feeling, that strain is some straight up OG Kush.
Yep.
Double up like you should. You know, the 2 joints, smoke 2 joints before you smoke 2 joints.
Yep.
Them OGs work great for me. That one are nice, you know, let the pain go, get some shit done, get up and get some shit done. 2, you're the lady on the couch. Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I feel you. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, 100%. Yeah, good times for sure.
Man, you know, it's funny about that is, you know, that was one of my first strains that taught me a lesson in bringing multiple strains into the garden. You know, most strains you build up a tolerance to, and you know, you're like, yeah, it's good, it's good. I need something else. But OG Kush was the first strain I grew that it was like, dude, you've got to grow something else because you keep smoking that shit, you're gonna get nothing done.
Yeah.
I literally monocropped that a couple of times, and it was like 6 months to a year just coming home after work. Like I said, doubling up. You smoke that first one, smoke that second one, then it was like the couch. I'm like, man, I gotta get shit done, man. I can't keep doing this, man. I was as fire as that bud was, and I was gladly like trading up with friends, man. I'm like, man, I need something a little less strong so I could like do
Function.
shit.
Yeah.
We completely lost you, Kato.
Wait, can you see me?
Oh, we can see it. We lost your mic. I don't know what it was. We lost your mic there for a second.
What about now?
Maybe you covered it. We're good now. We're good now.
Yeah, good OG has no ceiling. It doesn't have a tolerance. You can smoke it, and an hour later, smoke it again, and you're right back sky high. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So, what are some of the other terp profiles that do you like or have you tried? I mean, like we said, they can't always be OG because we'd never get anything done. There's got to be something a little less floating around.
The ones that I've liked are like that are interesting are like the floral terps. Something that's kind of reminds you like of like orangey floral terps. I like orange floral terps. I would say I really don't like the candy stuff, like the sweet stuff. It really turns me off because it's usually that flower to me doesn't have any flavor. Every time I've read, I just anything sweet that I've ever came across that smells like candy, it always sucks to me. So I like more of like if it smelled like if it had an orange smell to it, it tasted at least good. And if it had a floral like a nice bouquet of flower smell, it had like a nice undertone of awesomeness to it. But yeah, I normally like the OGs. I like soil. I like the hash hashy flavors. I'm mostly a guy like that. I just try to stick to only those flavors, just for the simple fact that it always pleases. It never disappoints. I could never, if you get off a good flower, like a good like cushy flower, it just never disappoints. But yeah, I'm more into the floral, and if I go out of that aspect, floral and orangey and tangy kind of terps.
So do you think that your K&F style, when it comes to breeding, makes a difference in quality and size of seed?
I would say absolutely. If there's one thing that it does, is it makes plants nutrient dense. It will make anything, a flower, a seed, a vegetable, it makes nutrient dense plants. Can also too, when you grow cannabis KNF, what you'll notice is your plants will be greasy, extremely greasy. I'm talking about like a grease factory greasy, like where your hands are coated and it's a weird sensation. Definitely, if you're not used to it.
I think that's funny that you bring that up, and I think it's as I talk to a lot more and more extract artists, it seems to be organic seems to be their go-to choice for plants, and I wonder if that's one of the reasons right there, or that they know or don't know. I know, it's for terp profile, it's over a louder weed, but I wonder if they've noticed the oil production, the extra oil production as well.
Well, if I was an extract artist, I would be using KNF because it's incredible. It's an incredible asset if you're doing extracts. The amount of resin and terpene production that the plant will go into overdrive with a nutrient dense KNF program, inspired program, it's bar none. Check this out. So I like making RSO oil. I'll make RSO gummies for my wife. So I recently washed some of my Bubba Kush to make some RSO oil, and it turned into sugar because it had so many terpenes present into it. I was like, what the hell? I was like, I've never, like, yeah, it didn't want to collect. It literally crystallized, and it would turn into sugar. And it would move at room temperature, and it was the craziest RSO that I ever ran it. And it was one of the ones that I ran 100% with my bloom mix that I have, my full spectrum bloom mix. It made my RSO crystallize. I mean, sugar up, and I've never seen that with any other plant that I've ever RSO'd. It's always stayed that oil consistency, that thick oil consistency, which is insane because the terpene content present in it, it goes over the top. I mean, it makes your plants turn into a grease factory. Your plants will literally have like a sheen to them, and your leaf, it just I don't know, if you look at my pictures, you'll understand. My pictures, a lot of people trip on my leaf because the way that they're very I love the way that my plants look. They're very representative of the style. And it's if you want to push your plants, you definitely want to be feeding them other plants, because if you were trying to do extracts, I don't see any other method you should be messing with. You're going to have a flower that's more superior, and not only more superior, it's going to have that flavor. It's just going to ooze flavor. If that plant, what it does is it unlocks the genetic potential in that plant. So as a grower, our main goal is the genetic expression. All we're trying to do is allow the plant to genetically express the variety of genes that it possesses. If it has a gene that it produces a certain flavonoid or terpene, well, guess what? KNF will bring that to the forefront and push it. It'll just, oh, you smell orange? You're going to smell super orange, and you're going to be super greasy, and you're just going to, you touch me, you're not going to be able to use your phone because your hands are going to be all caked. And if I touch my flowers, it's funny. Will's last hope gave me a tip. He goes, you should put your phone in a Ziploc bag. And I'm like, I'm going to probably start doing that, because it's insane when you grow KNF inspired flower. You literally, one touch in your hand, your fucking hand is useless. You have to wash it. Intense.
So do you think there's any one input there that is responsible for oil production?
I would have to say it's the entourage effect of all of the fruit that is used.
For it, and also the high sugar content and carbohydrates, and also what people don't realize, KNF has a lot of vitamins and hormones in these plants. They're packed with vitamins. And just like if we eat vitamins, you know, your hair will grow faster, your nails get thicker, and they start growing at a fucking a noticeable rate that you'll notice, like, oh, my nails are growing faster. Same thing with cannabis. It'll push these through the vitamins. It just supercharges their whole genetic expression.
So, what are some inputs that you can offer us some for density?
Density?
Some natural PGRs, yeah.
If anybody's interested, look up my full bloom spectrum. You will have the tightest, densest flowers that you have come across for sure. You could chop at week 3, 4, and still have weight, kind of stuff like that. It literally will. They will form super tight, dense buds from the beginning. They don't get airy and then get dense. They start dense and then they just plump up from that point. So that's if anybody's interested, you look up my full bloom spectrum nutrient and feed that from beginning to end, and tell me if it doesn't put a smile on your face.
Well, we're always looking to put some smiles on our faces as
Exactly.
growers. That's for sure.
Yeah, but it's definitely a way to go for sure. If you want density, for sure, it's the way to go. I would never grow any other way, but the way that I grow right now, for sure. I've tried a lot of different ways when it comes to organic growing, and I believe we're a handful of guys in the industry right now that are pushing cannabis. We're at the pinnacle, at the very tip, the point, and we're pushing it and helping, you know, this journey and this saga that this cannabis is taking us all on.
So, what about Bob is saying in chat, sulfur for oils? I know sulfur for terpenes, but I've never really heard of sulfurs for oils. Would you agree with that?
So many sulfur, or what do you mean?
Well, sulfur in general, you know, is a nutrient.
Sulfur, I would say sulfur is an underrated nutrient that a lot of growers kind of don't think about. You know, they're thinking of the CalMag. Everybody, you know, it's a meme. CalMag. What does it need? It needs CalMag. No, it needs sulfur. You know what I mean? It helps with the formation of flowers for sure. If you're not feeding your plants sulfur, or at least a magnesium substance that has sulfur in it, it's like you are running a race with the Charlie horse. You're gonna get there, but it's not gonna be the same. Sulfur is a very important ingredient. You can also run into problems without sulfur that you may think are other problems, like magnesium problems or maybe a nitrogen deficiency. Sulfur, and it might be a sulfur problem, because sulfur will also help green up plants and help facilitate nutrient uptake of other nutrients. Kind of like I believe in the buffet model. You know, give the plant everything and it will take when it needs it. But sulfur needs to be in that buffet.
I agree. I definitely agree. It's an everyday in my watering, or every watering ingredient around here. That's for sure.
Awesome. Anybody?
I actually think that's one of the main LEDs. Yeah, what we kind of call plants a lot magnesium deficient under LEDs, but I'm starting to think it's actually a lot of sulfur deficient as well.
Yeah, exactly. They'll show up with other
being
stuff.
used there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that. But see, you have a close relationship with your plants, and a lot of guys growing, they don't have this relationship because they're growing for maybe other reasons that are maybe not in tuned with the plant. I'll grow a plant because I love to grow. Like, yeah, you can have benefits of smoking it, but I enjoy being around the plant. And I think you as well. So you have noticed these attributes, like, oh wait, it's possibly this. You know what I mean? And it's cool to be around plants and understand them in these ways, and figure them out. I love that. I just love it to be around them. Like, I think it's this, and then implementing it and it being that, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, nice. It feels good. It's very rewarding feeling for sure to problem solve with these plants.
Chibo Man, one of our regulars around here, is asking, where can they find your full bloom spectrum? Is there somewhere where they can find the complete recipe, like say on your Instagram?
So right now there's a complete there. I do have it. It's in down in my profile, but it's I'm always updating it. So I haven't updated because now I add my root beer ferment to it. But I do have my recipe on my page right now with a video explanation of it. But yeah, you can also DM me if anybody's interested. DM me, and I will make sure that I'll get the right information to you.
So let's see here. Let me zip through. Make sure I'm getting all the questions in chat before I start, going back down my list of questions. I want to make sure and get anything they may have. So how long before you plan to go down your photo breeding?
Photo breed right now.
How far out are you on that?
So right now I am actually searching because I like to do a lot of groundwork before I implement anything when it even comes from nutrients or whatever I do. But right now I haven't found any. I'm trying to find the Master Kush stuff. I would love to breed with some older stuff like Master Kush, and like I have right now, I'm actually breeding with a headband and a pre-98 Bubba. So I'm trying to figure out what varietals I'm working with right now. But yeah, I'm way off right now. You're probably not going to see anything for like 2 years from me easily. Anything photo period wise, because I definitely don't want to be that person in the industry that gets raked over coals because he's an asshole and he doesn't like to test his genetics.
That's good to hear, to be honest with you. I like I'm a firm believer in quality breeding. So I'm glad to hear that you're willing to take the time and put in the work before you release something there.
Yeah, exactly. I because this is how I feel. I run big setups. So if someone puts the confidence in me and buys my seed, and let's say they have like a 400 or 500 of these plants and one of them Hermes, that's a bad day for that family. That's a horrible day for that family. And I would never, that's the baddest juju you can ask back on yourself that I think you could do to somebody is fuck their garden up. That benefits the people that are around them. And people need to understand that a lot of people like us, we do it for a living. We're not just doing it in our backyard and whatever. No, we're doing this for a living. And it's cool to have trusted people in this industry that we count on to do their homework, dot their I's, cross their T's, and know that when we're running some gear, we can have confidence. And when we speak about it, we can not feel ashamed. And that's I think that I strive for, something that brings happiness to somebody. If it could bring happiness to somebody and know that they can run it and they don't have to worry about it, that's what I'm after. Because right now, if somebody were to give me something and it would have hurt me and fuck my room up, you best believe it's sadness. That's just sad. That's like the worst thing that I think could happen to a grower is knowing that your room got sabotaged by somebody's lack of work when you're putting in 1,000.
Well, that is most definitely what the testing's for. Good breeders most certainly does.
No, they're out there, definitely. I love good breeders. I send positive vibes to them all the time. I love breed. They're doing the work for the people, and I appreciate them pushing the envelope so we could get those tasty terps and always bringing that new varietals around. Man, I don't know how they do it. I'm slowly getting there, man. But it's crazy. Some of these guys are popping out strains like like crazy, and they're stable and they're glorious, and I give props to any breeder out there. I just want to say you guys are amazing, and the amount of wealth and knowledge that you guys have is crazy.
Yeah, like you're saying there, there's a lot of time, and if you're you're gardening, you're wanting flower, but you know, when you're making seeds, you waste a lot of space to making seeds when you could
Yeah.
be making just glorious flower, you know. So shout out to the breeders.
Yeah, shout out to breeders, man. For reals. Making the world go round for us, making us let us have fun with it, with their gear.
So how do you do your harvesting? What's your harvesting process, man? I couldn't imagine trying to take down a greenhouse. It's off to you for that. That's where I like the little guy method of, you know, I'm kind of happy in my way. I like the perpetual just because of that. That's one thing the other harvest, you know, monocropping taught me too was uh, you're a one man team. So when it comes down to taking down all the plants, you're a one man team.
Yeah, for
So
real.
the perpetual helps me, you know, I'm just doing a little bit all the time instead of, you know,
Busy
being,
hands. Yeah. Well, my
yeah.
approach, this one's going to be interesting because we're going to wash a lot of the room. So it's going to alleviate a lot of our harvest woes since some of these plants are actually overproducing when it comes to the trichome density. Some of these plants are surprising us just because of the bloom mix. This bloom mix that I have right now is that I've been working on. It hasn't been, I haven't used it before to this extent because I've added a lot of new stuff to it. So it's actually amazed us. So we're going to wash a lot of the room because it's just overperforming for extracts. And the rest, we have a set up dry room that we have that's going to be environmentally controlled 100%, with a rack system so they could be hung and dried, like I would say 10 to 14 days. Hopefully try to get that slow. That's my main goal is to try to get it to a point where I could put it into a curing system so that it cures properly. And a lot of that is the 3-day rule that I like to say. The first 3 days are the most important days when you come into your drying process. If you're trying to get most of the moisture out in the first 3 days, if you could do that, then you can, the rest of the days, you can kind of coast in an essence. So that's my approach to it. I try to get the moisture out, most of the moisture out, just I would say about to like 60% in the flower till about 3 days, and then let that extra 10% right where it gets to 50% the rest of the way. And just before, because if you get a flower below 50%, it won't cure properly. So you want to make sure you're hovering above that 50% mark. So you're trying to get it to 60% for me, or at least that first 3-day mark, and as slow as possible increment down into where you could get it to where you could put it into a curing system, so that when your final flower is sitting at, you're sitting when it gets below 50%, when it stops metabolizing internally and doing the process of breaking down chlorophylls and such. It's beautiful. It's got the right texture. It's got the right it's held all the terpenes in it because they haven't gassed off, because you haven't been an asshole and just you know what I mean, you just let them gas off. A lot of people will do that. They'll dry their flower out in a room that's too hot, and all their terpenes will gas off. And it's a sad thing to see because you put all that work in, and then you gas all your terpenes off, and then you dry it to the point of no return. You don't even know how many messages I'll get, like, hey, I dried my flower too much. What can you do? You can't do nothing. You can kind of maybe do to an extent of making it feel better for user, like input wise, but when it comes to flavor and taste, you ruined it. Is my mic off again?
It's a little echoey.
What about now? Yeah, so
A little better now.
that's the approach I take. I do the 3. It's always benefit me. I'll try to do get most of the moisture out of the first 3 days, and then low and slow the rest of the way until I get some snaps. Kind of like to the point. Kind of where you get to the point where you can trim without even using your scissors, where you can just flick the leaves off. Yeah, they're saying that my mic something's wrong with my mic.
It's a little echoey, but we can still hear you. Phones can be a little bare. Sometimes they're touchy.
But yeah, but to be honest with you, I'm still process because that's always about
Yeah, it's worse now. Sorry, brother. Just try tipping the phone. You can actually turn it sideways. There you go. Let's see if flip it sideways and see if the mic's a little better.
What about now?
Perfect. Best it's been.
Awesome. Yeah, but how do you go about trying your flower? Like, what's your approach to it? Like, it's something that you put a lot of effort in, or you just throw it in a tent, throw some fans in there, and you're like, oh.
My approach with drying, was that your question? Kind of
Yeah.
lost a little bit there.
Yeah. What's your approach?
I'm actually I hang dry at some points, but moreover now I right there that my herbs now I actually use a dryer that I'm quite fond of. Uh, so basically, I wet trim and will pack that into the dryer there and almost cure it, almost machine cure. So I basically pack this thing as tight as I can get it. It's preset for 96 hours. It rarely takes that long. I kind of take it to a crisp, like a crisp state where the stems are somewhat pliable still. And then I'll shut down the machine and let it wick out a little bit. And then I'll take it one more time to a stem snap. And then it's pretty much jar ready at that point. And it, I've had pretty damn good luck with it, against all norms, you know, against all norms. I actually
Yeah.
even dry my hash. I actually even dry my hash in that thing, and it works well. It works really well.
That's good
But
to hear.
before that, it was. I can show you right here. I used to right there.
Wow. Oh, wow.
The hangers, the rack, a tent. You can actually fit 3 of those racks in a 4x4 tent, and then kind of put some Rid-X buckets in there for moisture, and then a light breeze, pushing in the bottom with a light suck out the top of the tent, trying to maintain as close as you can to 60, but that's usually, you know, I'm
Yeah.
not pushing it. Yeah.
It's a pain. It's a pain. Even everybody, I think everybody has woes when it comes to drying. That's one of the aspects where I'm always evolving. Like when it comes to my growing, I know I got that down, but my drying game can always use tips. 100%. I am open for suggestion.
Yeah, I definitely like that dryer. That's for sure. I see Arthro Sensibilia in there. First sponsor for dry mids now. You guys say what you want, but you know, I do like my machine. I'm not selling it, but I do like that. It was a question. It was a question. Damn it! It was a question.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
wasn't. I wasn't pushing it. I wasn't pushing. I just answered the question. Damn it.
Like link in description.
Yeah. Oh man, I do love my chat. I do love my chat.
That's awesome.
So, do you wash your own material there? Let me ask you that.
We are setting up a cold room right now that we are going to start. We are going to wash some of our material in house, but we also are looking for extract artists right now that maybe want to run it to see what it does in other people's hands, just to see, because not a lot of people get KNF flour or flour that's extremely organic. Like in our approach, we're plants feeding plants. Like they're always getting flour that's grown in questionable ways, so to speak. So yeah, definitely, we want to run flour in house, and we're trying to see if we can, I don't know, have fun with it, so to speak, for sure.
So, have you thought about with the extra oil production, might it be a waste to actually, wash it into bubble? Do you think it might hydrocarbon with a high oil content may be a better solution?
I was thinking that too. It's funny that you say that. I have thought about that. The fact that I might run into some problems with it not wanting to release the heads. It might not wanting to wash correctly because of maybe issues of the oiliness. Because I know some cultivars are notorious. Some are good attachers and some just suck. And I'm hoping that I'm not acerbating any of those attributes. You know what I mean? By doing a style like this. But I think that any product that's extracted through these methods of growing, it's going to be superior in a lot of ways that are noticeable to people that are extractors, for sure. Because it is in flower. It's in all aspects. Visually, smell, flavor, it just, everything improves. So I don't think it should be worrisome too much.
So yeah, some of them greasy ones, them are the ones, in my opinion. I love the greasy ones. When I'm washing and I pull that first wash and my bag's fucking almost fucked. I'm almost grabbing for the bag for the alcohol right off the get. I'm like, it's a pain in the ass, but I know what I'm pulling out is going to be worth the effort. When I was talking with Nicotine the other night, what he was suggesting is colder climate. And I'm thinking, yeah, that sounds great, but I don't have a hash room. So, the closest thing I can do is like bank it until this time of year where I could actually go outside and do my whole complete wash in this Arctic Michigan weather.
Yeah.
That shit ain't happening but once a year.
Yeah, you got to work with Mother Nature. Definitely. But yeah, I hope that the room we build and the advice, because I'm going to start to reach out to different people that maybe want to share with me some techniques, and hope and cross my fingers that I do an excellent job at extracting some of this awesome goodness that I have created off these plants. But if you like greasy flowers, you should definitely start getting into more of the KNF. All your flowers will be greasy. Even flowers that maybe not greasy, they'll be greasy.
So is that some advice that you would offer to some extract artists is before you change up your cultivars? Like I heard you mention unlocking the genetics. Would you suggest they actually switch over to a KNF system before they go chasing down different cultivars? To give the KNF a shot.
I would, for the simple fact that one of my flowers that I'm growing is wedding cake, but nobody knows that it's wedding cake because it looks so intense. I always ask me, what is this one? I'm like, it's wedding cake. They're like, what pheno is that? And I'm like, it's regular wedding cake. It just looks crazy because of the nutrients. It literally it's spitting the way that it doesn't look like any other wedding cake I've seen. That's for sure. So for sure, yeah. If somebody had a problem with the strain, I would definitely run it KNF program so you can maybe unlock some of that hidden potential that it has, because for sure you will unlock genetic potential with an all plant fed based system. 100%. I agree with that statement that I just said. If you're rushing wash something that sucks, try KNF. You're definitely gonna push more grease out of it for sure, because literally every flower in my room is greasy. There's not one flower in my room that's not greasy. They're all equally crazy greasy, and that's one of the qualities that you'll run into when you start getting flower or start implementing these feed programs, is you get these traits that are not normally present, that you've never seen, that you're not used to. They'll start popping their heads out more. And it's interesting to see for sure as a cultivator to see these things with your own two eyes. Like, oh wow, check this out. My leaves in veg will be greasy. In veg, they'll be waxy. They'll have a waxy greasiness to them, and it's the most insane thing ever. Like if I rub the bottom of my in veg, I'll have like a greasiness on my hands in veg.
Sounds like it would be good for an IPM purposes as well.
I would actually agree. Somebody was telling me through the comments, they were like, oh, what is your Brix content on your plant? I'm like, well, I have no idea because I don't have a Brix meter. And they were telling me that that once a plant gets like past like 15 15 bricks, that pests stop seeing it as a plant or something like that. And I agree with that. I've had plants in the past where they'll have like a slight bug problem, and they'll as they go through their health, the pests don't want to be around them anymore. They're too greasy for them. Like, they grease fucks with them. They can't maneuver around the leaf as freely as they would, because they get, you know what I mean? It hassles them to do their day-to-day activities. Not every pest, but I think like I think thrips. I had thrips one time, and my plant got so greasy that they stopped. They didn't like that plant no more, and they left. But I've experienced that a plant gets so greasy that pests don't want to be around it.
That's kind of touching on a base there of something I was just thinking of when you were talking there. Since you go down the K&F road and basically living organics and all that, do you actually work with banker and companion plants as well in your greenhouse as
I
part of IPM management?
I don't companion plant for the simple fact that my I don't want to have to worry about foliage for some bug to hide in. So that's my approach with it. I have so much to worry about already. My companion, I don't want, if you get a bug problem and it gets out of control and you get little nooks and crannies, because this is how I see it. Because I spray during veg, and if I have companion planting and I have to spray, you have to spray every top and bottom of everything. And if it's hiding in some foliage and some cover crop, and you forgot to spray it properly because you had run into an issue, they're just going to keep bouncing back. You have to literally spray every inch of your room, or don't even spray at all. So that's why I don't companion plant, because there's too many nooks and crannies that I'll have to spray, and it just will add hours onto my IPM schedule. And it's something that I also never had a need for, because I run I just run my regular soil, nothing on top. I don't mulch anything on top. A lot of guys trip out on that as well, that I don't mulch or any of that. It's kind of because it's a personal preference. I'll walk into a room and I can see from the texture of the soil where that plant's at, where it's sitting in moisture content, just by looking at the top layer of the soil immediately. I'm like, all right, I got maybe a day more on that one, but I use it as an indicator feedback for me. So that's why I don't also use any mulches or anything like that. But I might change my tune, because there are some guys that are kind of turning me onto a little bit of techniques, so to speak, to keep the moisture content on the top a little bit more leveled, because there is a benefit to some types of mulches for sure. I can agree with that for sure. But yeah, cover crop wise, I'm not into cover crop. I'm trying to not trying to add another thing I have to think about in the garden. In my opinion, that's my opinion.
So I've seen here, I want to make sure and get the name right. Cheers, Lemon Hope Hope. Let's see here. It was a Toad. Grumpy Toad. He says in chat, grease equals dank, question mark, question mark, question mark. I believe so. What's your opinion? Uh, does grease equal dank in your opinion?
The reason why I think grease equals dank, don't you love those joints when you're smoking them and they become transparent and they ooze? Well, that comes from that, exactly. You will get that with a greasy plant. It will turn it will turn it transparent, and you would have to bite the tip off like every couple hits, because it gets packed at the end. It's like you might as well. It's like you're throwing concentrates in your joint. But yeah, I agree.
Oh,
It just makes for a pleasurable smoking experience, and it's a cool show off factor.
Oh yeah. I definitely love a joint when I light it up and take a hit or two of it, and practically the whole parent paper is translucent, just like you practically rub chicken grease on it before you roll the joint or something.
Yep.
You're just like,
Yeah.
oh man, them are the ones you usually look at in between.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like, oh wow, this is good stuff. Yeah, those are the joints that if you pick a roach up, you could tell what it is. You could smoke it and be like, oh, that's this varietal. You know what I mean? Because they're just coated with that flavor. I love joints that you could pick up that from an ashtray, and you could tell exactly what it is.
So that's one of the things. That's what we extract basically are the oils. So why wouldn't, oil or grease equal dank? You know what I mean? In my opinion, it has to, or it has to equate to dank, I guess.
I agree. I think it's just because of the terpene content is increased, so you get more of that grease factor. That's what I believe is happening. You just have more terpenes present. So it's kind of like when you have concentrates that have high terpene content, they move in room temperature. They're very saucy. They're super saucy when they're real high in terpenes. And I believe that's the same thing that's happening on the plant. It's so high in terpenes that it's like you have that, it's just like sauce covered in it. It's got that factor to it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely. So, what are your plans for 21? Do you have any extra special plans that you hope to pull off this year?
Yes, most definitely. We're going to be opening 4 more greenhouses, and I hope to get some offers in the future to work with some people in the industry that maybe want to open their minds to this type of cultivating, because it's definitely, from an outside looking in, it's got to be weird. I mean, you see a guy blending some fruit in a blender and he's juicing some carrots, but then you look, what I mean? It's definitely a new way to look at how you feed your plants. And I would love to start new relationships to spread the love. So I'm looking for 2021 to expand, but also to expand my networking and the people that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, like you, for instance.
Right on. That would be pretty awesome. Wow, 4 more greenhouses. Woo! Woo! I hope you got some help, brother, or a good batch of strong coffee, brother. You're going to need something.
Yeah, no, I'm getting my butt whipped right now.
So are we talking, are we going to talk auto? Are you talking autos in these greenhouses, or, what are we running in the greenhouses? Or what will we be running?
I'm hoping that I can maybe run some. See, what the thing with these methods of growing, since it pushes the genetic potential, I'm hoping to run some. I don't know, like in-house genetics. I think it's called in-house, like some crazy stuff that's out there floating around, and see how far I can push it. To be honest with you, like maybe some strains that I know are that dump, because I wanted one greenhouse all to wash and then one for flower. And then you know what I mean? I kind of want to make it interesting. I want to try to experiment with these greenhouses, but I also will be doing, in the future, I also will be doing an all autoflower greenhouse. That's for sure. 100%. Like just for shits and giggles.
Well, that'd be a busy greenhouse, man. What'd you say? Every 60 to 90 days,
Yeah, exactly.
a flip. Holy shit,
Yeah,
that's work. Harvest, flip, harvest, flip, harvest, flip. I think at that point you better have some freezers and a good oil guy or good extract guy, because I think at that point that's what it would be. At that kind of harvest, I'd be like, fuck it, freeze it.
Yeah,
Freeze it.
exactly.
He'll be here next week.
Bring it. I don't want to think about it. Exactly. No, seriously. That's what it's exactly. That's why we were pushing towards trying to wash some of it, because it does alleviate a lot of those stresses in the end. You know what I mean? For sure. But
Boy,
yeah,
wouldn't that be something to
yeah, it
be,
would be.
do you think that could be something that we may see someday in a larger scale grow?
I think so.
Like a big, like meat locker like type freezer, instead of, walking through and seeing like, hey, sides of beef hanging, you'll just see plants hanging upside down in like a meat locker type atmosphere, just
Well, I know.
waiting to be processed.
Well, I know what they do right now. They bring in reefer trucks, and I know they bring them to sites and they load those reefer trucks up. They'll put they'll get totes and they'll fill their totes up and they'll just freeze that whole 53-foot trailer that's reefer, and they'll fill it up, man. They'll just fill it up for fresh frozen. I know they're doing stuff like that in a lot of farms.
Man, I guess I need to get my ass out of Michigan and see some larger scale grows, I guess, man.
Yeah. I know of a
Can't
couple farms
wait.
that are doing that. Yeah, they literally buy a 53-foot reefer truck and they fill that thing up. With all the dankest flour they have around in negative temperatures. And it work. I don't know. You would have to be very big scale to do something like that for sure. I'm definitely not there yet.
Hopefully, brother, we both get there someday.
No, exactly. That's the plan, to share the love.
You know, honestly, if I ever come to about that point, I actually hope at that point I'm honestly giving a lot of it away to, you know, like a charity, nonprofit type atmosphere, and still doing this. And still doing this right here, but at a more carefree level.
That's
Would be
crazy
the
that you say that.
ultimate goal.
No, it's crazy that you say that. One of my goals in the future is to have a charity garden for veterans, with all profits going to veterans. There's great veterans of this country. If you're a veteran and you're listening right now, I just want to tell you thank you. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you. We're able to talk fucking shit with Eagle because of brave men. So yeah, I definitely in the future I want to set something up to pay homage to these women and men in the great forces that protect us every day.
I agree. I agree. And I think I've said this many a times too. I think it's so unfair that they're the ones that get fucked firsthand on the cannabis, you know, benefits. Here they go and serve our countries, and they're the ones that could benefit most out of some of the, you know, medical benefits for PTSD, pain, other benefits, and according to our government as of late, it will void their benefits. You know what I
Exactly. Yeah.
mean? So it's sad that, you know, here they stand and fight for us shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand, and make keep us safe, but they can't come home and, you know,
You're right.
do what's right.
You're absolutely right. They have tormented minds, and cannabis calms that mind. And it's a tool that should be utilized by all veterans that are having issues with any type of mental disorder or even physical. It brings great relief to a lot of these veterans, and it's definitely something that I kind of want to push in the future to help these men and women out. It's a big issue with me. I come from a veteran. I found my dad served in the Korean War, so it's something that I definitely know freedom isn't free. And his cousin before that, World War II. So it's like I definitely respect my brothers in arms.
Same here. Same here. Well, I hope your dream comes true, mainly for that reason right there. Hopefully, by that day, it's a completely day and age. Things, the tables have turned on that issue. Hopefully, that comes sooner than the other.
Hey, so Eagle, so this method that I've explained to you of this flower and all that, would it be something that you would try?
Yeah, I think I would give her a go. I think I'd give her a go.
Yeah, you should, man. You should definitely should. I think you would you're gonna kick yourself. It's kind of something that you get into and you're like, wow, this makes everything so much more simple. You should definitely give it a try. I'll help you too, man. If you need any help, just reach out, brother, and I got you.
I will. So, do you think? I mean, even if I didn't go the full K and F, do you think I could still use your full bloom
So
in
that's
my cocoa?
so check this out. I think the coolest thing about my style is I'm not 100% KNF. I am traditional organics. My main base is traditional organics, and I use KNF as boosters. And sometimes I use KNF as my main and traditional as my boosters. So I have a mix of all the best things that I've ever come across, but with KNF leading the way. So absolutely, my style actually will work for a lot more people than just a regular KNF program because it's already something that they're used to, and they're adding the KNF to boost an existing program that already works. I'm a firm believer. If it works, it works. Why are you not going to use it? If it's organic and it works, use it. Simple as that. And KNF is just another tool that we have in our toolbox that we could use to assist us to make them a better product in the end for us and the people that surround us. So yes, absolutely. My style, I believe, benefits greatly in any situation because it utilizes that traditional organics background that I've learned from many people before me, and also pushing the new stuff of principles of plants eating plants.
You know, because I definitely do love the cocoa that I run. You can almost, if I can get my head right there. Well, you can see them pots behind me, man. That that cocoa is like it's a chunky cocoa. That
Oh, I
shit's
see.
damn near wood chips, and I love the aeration of it. That's one of the reasons why I use it. But if I can, step my game up with some better inputs, I'm always game to try.
Yeah, definitely. You should. That's the cool thing about the bloom mix. It's something that could be implemented in any system, but mostly it benefits organics for the simple fact that the sugar content feeds the microbial life very well. So it really shines in living soil, but the nutrient content is still there because there is water soluble nutrient that's readily available still in that mix.
Man, that's one of the things that I've said too. That all this time is, man, the organics is a deep wormhole. Such a deep
It
wormhole.
is. I know it's intense, to say the least. It's super intense.
But it's one of those things. As we've talked about cannabis bettering us as the plant, bettering us all around. The organic seems to do the same thing. You know what I mean? As you travel down that organics road, it tends to bring out more knowledge because that rabbit hole is deep.
It's
That rabbit hole, you get,
super deep. No,
yeah.
you
I
start
mean,
learning
if
the.
you're, if you,
Yes, you're absolutely right. You know,
I
it's
mean, if you,
I'm gonna butt in real quick. I'm sorry about that. One of the craziest thing about organics when you start learning is the fact that you learn the relationship that your plant has with the world around it, and that's the thing about organics that opens your mind up.
You start realizing like it's not just the roots; it's the beneficials that are in there that help the system. And then you start learning, okay, what's this system about? And then you realize like, oh wow, there's this whole bacteria, then there's the micro, there's the hyphae, and then there's the you go into like the living soil aspect, and then you get into, okay, making an organic input, it's got to be breaking down by another thing, and then the plant can see it, and then you're like, what the heck? And then it's the rabbit hole goes further and further and further, and then next thing you know, you are in a bliss of knowledge that you never fathomed before. Now you have all this wherewithal. You're like, wow, you're looking at this plant, and little do you know, there's so much going on that's not you have no part in it, so to speak, that's going on. It's like a beautiful harmony, and it's crazy when you think about it like that. You have like a little ecosystem. It's like if like that's that episode in The Simpsons where they make that little colony when I think Lisa or forgot spits in the. Have you seen that episode?
it's it sounds pretty familiar, but I don't want to stop the story.
Yeah, that's pretty much the episode is they make a whole universe within this colony, and and it's self-sustained, and that's pretty much when you go down this hole, you realize that you're introducing life to your soil. You feed your soil, you don't feed the plant. You feed the soil, and the soil feeds the plant. That's my main go-to. Is when you go down these rabbit holes, you realize that you're not doing much. Your soil is lifting everything, it's doing all the work for you. The soil. So yeah, definitely good high quality soil.
Well, the more I think about it, is I don't think any of the terms that we've used tonight actually fits organics at all. To be honest with you,
How so?
you know what I mean? Well, rabbit holes. A rabbit hole you tend to fall into, and things get crazy and may not make sense, and just can be silly and fun.
Exactly.
So I don't know if rabbit hole would. It kind of, maybe, but a wormhole again. The term wormhole. Uh, Again, I've used both terms for shows of mine, by the way. So the wormhole actually will take you from one place to another, and I guess organics, you may start off in one place and you're definitely going to end up in another.
Oh,
But
without
to me, the better description would be organics would be a black hole. I mean,
I
anytime
like
that
that
you've
term.
seen a black hole,
I like that
it's
term.
more endless. And I don't think you'll ever see the bottom, the true bottom of a black hole. But when you see it, at least in like a pictorial version, what do you see? You see a black hole, and then you see beams of light coming out, beams of knowledge, I guess you would call it, shooting out from the centers. You'll never
Yep.
see the bottom of that black hole, but you'll see good tons of information, tons of beam of light coming out of it. So I think the organics black hole is a more accurate term for it.
I agree with you. And also too, once you get past a certain point, and just like a black hole, when you hit the event horizon, you can never go back.
You're right. Yeah, you're exactly right. Exactly right.
You are now, you're done. You are now off into the unknown.
That's one of the things too that I've said that throughout this whole journey this last year as I've teetered on the fucking organics and the salts path there is, I've been reading books and I've, kind of been peeking these doors open, and I know that point of that horizon that you're talking about there, and I'm honestly afraid of fuck of it, to be honest with you. I'm afraid of the worm bins, the bokashi bins, all that shit. You know what I mean? I'm afraid I will honestly just be running around full hippie and
Yeah.
just like, dividing everything.
Matthew McConaughey
Because
style.
I have that type of nature to me where, when I take something on, I'm usually full bore into it. So, yeah, I may be a little afraid still of the organics just because I know I'll end up full hippie.
Well, that's the cool thing about my approach. I only use in veg. I only use two mainly. There are other stuff that I add for fun, but I only use two ingredients: humic acid and soybean amino acid. That's it. That is it.
That's a pretty low input right there.
Yeah, look at my plants. Soybean and humic
That's
acid.
what I was just getting ready to say too. Your plants, you have some beautiful plants. They aren't lying for sure. So
yeah,
the proof
people like
is in the pudding.
Exactly. People wanted there are people that do hate on my style, or they'll have different critiques, whatever. It's just like in life. But I have a very simple method. I use mainly 6 ingredients, and it makes fire flower, and I run into no issues. I do pH my water once in the season, but as long as I know it's within a parameter, I don't have to worry about it. pH is very, very important, but that's why I use humic acid. It makes sure that everything plays nice. It makes sure that no matter what the situation is, unbeknownst to you, you're gonna have a swell time when you come back into that garden. You're not gonna come back and you're gonna have pH swings. But 2 ingredients is my foundation, and if I can have anybody learn anything from this video, is humic acid and soybean amino acids. The plants love amino acids. Amino acids and humic acids go together like Cheech and Chong, like all the great duos. You know what I mean? Every great duo out there. That's a powerhouse for an organic gardener. If you're trying to get into organic gardening, get yourself a high 80% or higher powdered soluble humic acid, and get yourself an amino acid, soybean amino acid that's enzymatically processed in a solution grade form. Those 2 things will take any garden and it will take it to success. In veg wise, and it's only 2 ingredients, and then you can add all that other stuff for fun, the fish stuff, the inoculation, and I do that for fun because it's cool to push the envelope in certain fields. But those 2 ingredients are the only 2 things you need. And for bloom, all you really need is that full spectrum bloom nutrient with some CalMag and magnesium, and you are off to the races with those simple ingredients. And you don't need any worm bin this, worm that, or whatever. It's simple. It's a simple solution for a simple problem. Dank weed. You want dank weed? Try that and tell me if it doesn't put a smile on your face. Well, look at my garden. If you think I'm bullshitting, look at my garden.
I agree. You're putting out some fire over there for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But the work speaks for itself. Simple as that. The proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is sweet as hell.
So I'm totally glad that you're able to, like you said, 20 might have been seemingly shitty, but it seemed like, it was a gift meant to be,
Yeah.
So I hope you run with it. It sounds like you're poised to run with this new phase of your life.
Well, 100%. And
So,
one thing that I want to do is I want to inspire other people like me.
You know what I mean? Or just
I just want to be an inspiration. Simple as
that. I just want to show somebody that they have the power to change their situation 100% with just simple techniques. You can have a beautiful garden. You don't need a laundry list of stuff to add to your regimen. You need keep it simple. If you keep like how Mother Nature does, you do as that's one thing that KNF can teach you. The philosophies is you do as nature does. And what does nature do? It looks around at all the best things it has around in its environment and it applies them.
simply. Doesn't overdo it. It simply applies all the best that it sees around it. And that's what I'm doing. I see something that I could utilize that works great and I apply it, and it's not overcomplicated. If you add this regimen to any situation, it's going to improve any program with those simple key points that I've talked about. Try it. Anybody thinks that I'm lying, just get humic acid. If anybody thinks I'm bullshitting, just buy this. I've helped many people with that simple suggestion. I'm like, oh, just buy this one product, and that one product will change your life. Humic acid. Nobody uses humic acid, and not in the bottle form. You have to have it in the powdered soluble form that's over 80% to see a significant difference that you would see with your own two eyes. And a lot of these people that are running gardens, they have all purple stems. A lot of guys run purple stems. If I see a purple stem in my garden, I'm not going to sleep good at night, because that lady's telling me that there's something wrong with that medium. The medium is not right. She's telling me I'm fucking mad. What the hell? I'm about to get even more problematic for you if you don't address the situation. If you start feeding humic acid, that stem will turn, all the new growth will be green, because it will alleviate anything that's unbeknownst to you happening in that media. It will keep it in check. It gut checks it. It allows the nutrients to be absorbed in ranges they're not really used to being absorbed, but it'll allow it because it acts as a lubricant. And that's the best way that I can explain to somebody. Add that one simple item to your regimen, and that alone will help many gardens out there that are struggling to find their sweet spot. And I've already helped plenty. I had many messages that I replied to, and they've learned, and I get messages back saying, oh, I've had the best harvest that I've had in a very long time with one simple suggestion that I have told them. So it's cool to have that feedback, to know that these suggestions that I'm advocating, they work. Simple as that. They work. There's no way around it. It's like DMT. When you smoke it, you will see the elves. You know what I mean? It's like it's something that it doesn't care what your opinion is. It's going to work.
well, I tell you, one of the things that as I'm looking, though I haven't implemented a lot of this stuff, like I said, I still dabble at least in listening, and I have listened to a few books, One Straw Revolution, and a few other books that kind of gear towards that. And one of the things that I like about the KNF and Jadam is the undertones of Buddhism. There's a lot of life lessons in there, as well as teaching you how to take care of your plants. There's a lot of life lessons in them books as well. So that's, as I've listened to some of them, even though I haven't put it into practice as a gardening technique, I like to listen for the life lessons as well, because they're hidden in there. They're hidden in there as well. That's for sure.
That's crazy. You're actually off to a good start. If that's something that you've attached to that thinking, you're doing beautiful already, because that's the hardest thing for somebody that's coming into these techniques to overcome, is that thinking. It's about the way you think of these processes. It's trying to break those chains in your mind and help you understand how and why you do the things you do. And if you can understand how and why you do the things you do, you could better implement these things to your benefit and the plant's benefit. So that's beautiful that you said that. You were on the right track. You saying that lets me know that you will do wonderful implementing these organic practices, because at the heart of it, you understand. And that's what's important. You need to understand that this is a philosophy. It's a way of thinking about these, thinking the relationship that we have with these plants more than anything than just feeding them. It's about the relationship above else. And that comes secondary. Is like, it's kind of like when you do something good, the quality will follow. That's a secondary thing. If you do something good, good things will come automatically through those good intentions. It's that same philosophy that it teaches. Good in, love out. Love in, love out.
And I also respect the fact that you know, you do shake off that negative energy before you go into the garden. I think that directly does transfer. Although I think that even if you do take it in somehow, that plant does kind of filter it out of you. So I
It does.
think it has that capability.
So you want to know what I do to get in the mood, to get into my garden? Because I have a ritual. So I have a ritual, you know, like that. Have you seen that Gone in 60 Seconds where they listen to that music before they boost those cars? Nicolas Cage, he'll listen to that music and he gets in and he goes, all right, we're going to go. I do the same thing while I the journey to my plants. Give me a good reggae beat and some weed and it will put me in the best mood. That's what I'll do. I'll go down my playlist and whatever hits me in my soul and is like the anthem of the day, I will ride that all the way to the garden. And so when I'm answering it, I got my good my reggae beat that had soothed my soul and my ganja that soothed my mind, and I'm ready to garden.
Man, sounds like a happy garden there. Sounds like a happy garden.
Yeah, you got good music.
Well, it must be a rocking greenhouse, man. It must be a fun place.
Oh,
Sun,
definitely.
well, the sun brings out a good mood anyway, but you throw some good reggae music on there, rocking like that.
Good times are to be had around good reggae, good weed. I'm gonna tell you that much. Try to be in a bad mood listening to reggae with a really nice joint in your hand. It's impossible. I dare you.
I agree. I totally agree. I love cannabis music of like any genre, by the way. You know what I mean? Even if it's like rap cannabis or reggae cannabis, I've seen some rock cannabis. It's all
Country
good.
music.
It's a country cannabis. Can't forget out the country cannabis.
I haven't heard of
Wheeler
that one.
Walker.
Yeah, I haven't heard
Wheeler
that one.
Walker.
Nah.
I like smoking pot a lot. You haven't heard that? He's got a lot of like cannabis tunes.
I gotta check that out.
Too funny.
I'm really big on my playlist.
Oh man, that's got to be one. You got Wheeler Walker. I like smoking pot a lot.
I'll have to check that out.
That shit will crack you the fuck up.
I gotta check it out. If you want to get
Seriously.
into if you want some good reggae, go through my reels. Every reel that I have, they're all incredible reggae artists. If you want to fill up your playlist with some awesome tunes, just take a cruise down my reels and catch some positive vibes with me.
Yeah, definitely likes good reggae. So, did I ask you what you were gonna throw down as far as strains go in them?
I have no idea.
Year?
If somebody's out there and they if they got good genetics and they want to see what I can do with them, hit me up because I definitely could push. I definitely in the realm of pushing genetics to their potential for sure with my techniques. So if somebody wants to see their flower, how I take their approach, I'm open to suggestions. But I definitely want, anything that hits, that's medicating. It's got to be medicating. That's my main goal. I want something that medicates.
So, sounds like you don't have much unrelated cannabis time. So, if you do, what are you doing when you're not in the garden?
Researching about the garden. It's 20. Yeah. It's and my wife gets annoyed because she tells me I don't know how to turn it off. It's a good thing when it comes to growing cannabis, but it's not a good thing when it's trying to be in the regular world when all you want to do is talk and think about cannabis.
Well, the good thing is that world's getting larger and larger by the day. You know,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I agree with you, man. We're help pushing that too. So let's rock and roll, man.
shit. I don't know exactly where you are per se, but I know, here in Michigan, we're not even outdoors yet. And I tell you what, I want to say 3 out of 10 trips to my local Walmart, I'm having grow conversations right there, practically in the entryway.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
with with other growers. It's getting to be so frequent where it's like we got to put up like a forum that we like post that
yeah.
we're heading to Walmart so we can actually meet in the parking lot and have a better sesh than standing right here in the fucking entryway. We could be burning down in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly, right? Get your little growers association or guild, grower guild.
It would be funny to set up. Meet me outside of the garden section at
Yeah,
Walmart.
exactly.
We'll be
Like a
burning down in the
like
garden
Fight Club.
bed. That would be fucking funny as hell. Just
Yeah,
knock 3 times on the fucking bread box truck and shit. We'll
yeah,
let you in.
yeah, exactly. Somebody opens the door and violently pulls you in.
Oh man.
Good times. Good times. But yeah, something that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to be setting up some educational channels and video breakdowns of some of the stuff that I do, and I'm also going to be opening a website up where I'm going to have my humates that I use and some of my soybean amino acid available. So if anybody's interested in the ones that I use, and also I'm going to make available my root beer ferment from the plants that you see in that garden specifically, to share some of the positive vibes. If anybody in the near future, if anybody, because I see it as a mother culture. So I'll make a batch, and it's like a starter dough, like a sourdough starter. You always keep a little bit around for to inoculate the next batch. So it's, you know what I mean. I'm definitely going to be getting more into that, where I'm going to start more consulting and getting more educational stuff out there, so everybody could get more in tune to what I'm doing in a way that's more easily digestible for everybody.
So let me ask you this: do you actually ferment some kombachas and actually use them in your garden as well?
Well, the root beer that the roots that I ferment, it's like a kombucha. It smells just like that. It has the same qualities as it. It's effervescence. It's got like that bubbly quality to it. It's like a root kombucha. That's the best way to explain it. So yes, it's a probiotic for sure, 100%. It's an ultimate enzyme. It will make, if you add. So check this out. It's funny that you bring that up. A lot of people like to add lactobacillus to a lot of their ferments. I don't know why. They'll add it to, like, they'll mix something. Oh, I'm gonna add lab to that. I'm gonna add lab to this. I wouldn't add lab, because what happens is if you overdo the lab, you'll get it'll ferment your root ball, and it'll stall. If your root ball ferments, it'll stop uptaking water, and then you'll stall for like a week or two, and then it takes a while to kind of get back into its motion again. So what I would advocate is people start making the root ferment and add the root ferment to their ferments, because it has high in enzymes and it'll help facilitate the water solubility of these nutrients. Because when I add that to my ferment, it increases the rate that it's effective at. I have to lessen the dosage, or else I'll burn it after I add the root ferment. So people should start making these root ferments and adding them to their nutrients that they're mixing, that they're fermenting, or just even in general to their teas, or it just helps facilitate more of a robust nutrient profile.
There was somebody in chat here. What about Bob? Was wanting to know if you could talk about chelates.
What does that say again?
What about Bob? Is asking if you could talk about chelates.
Chelates. So that's why I use the humic acid, because it helps with that process, getting all those micros and all the secondaries and all this stuff that normally would having trouble in the media processing, I would, Bob, get some humic acid, and go through that wormhole, Bob, and you'll find out that humic acid facilitates that tremendously.
There we go. So let me flip through chat here to make sure we've got it caught up on our questions there. Been a great episode tonight, man. We've actually, for a Sunday night, we've had at one point up to 135, 140 viewers tonight, which is pretty damn good for a Sunday night. You definitely have brought it tonight, KNF.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate
very
it.
much, man.
No problem, brother. I'm just trying to spread the love.
I appreciate it, man. People are definitely hungry for organic and KNF knowledge, for sure. For sure, there is definitely a niche for that.
Yeah, send me if anybody's interested, just DM me, and I respond. I respond to almost every DM I have. Sometimes it's getting crazy now. I'm getting like bombarded with messages, but I will respond to, if someone's seeking knowledge, I will help. I will not stop somebody from success. If you want to succeed, I will help you.
I think we're pretty well caught up on questions so far from chat, unless there's something down there that I missed so far.
Good. Having a good time, though.
I'm glad, man. I've had a great time too, man. Very, very smart dude. That's for sure. For sure, man. And I'd like to extend. I heard you, say that you're looking to put out some more information and such. If you're ever looking to put out, a good special, you know what I mean, something that you'd like to put out for the people and put it out on a platform, you're always welcome to put it together something and air it out here if you'd like.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Definitely. Yeah.
Just like yourself, I'm always looking to spread the knowledge, and just because I don't have some of the facts doesn't mean that I don't like to stand behind people willing to put it out there. So, you know what I mean? So if it's something that you're interested in, please keep that in mind for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely will. I am working on literature, video breakdowns, and also a website and also a Discord that everybody can participate, where I could facilitate more of a one-to-one with people on a more intimate level, and have everything where all my recipes are and such. But yes, I definitely feel the love coming from your direction, and I appreciate it.
I don't know if this was a question for you or if it was just a general question in chat, but right here, said John Wayne asked a chat question. Thank you very much, Johnny. Let me flip back here. Any autos he would recommend for houseplant grow?
Yeah, my Victory at Sea. It's very and also my Victory at Sea. It's perfect house plant. It's the ultimate house plant. Also Mandalorian genetics. It's got great great autos, and Night Elf. Those are the ones that I would recommend. And also Medtree. Those are the ones that I would recommend. Anything from Medtree, Night Elf, and Mandalorian genetics. All those guys are doing incredible work. Binary Seeds too, but I don't know. I think it's hit or miss with their availability sometimes, at least for me. But yeah, I definitely those three right there would be my top contenders that I would go to have a very pleasurable auto experience. You'll get something back that you'll be happy. They're flavorful. They're packed with THC and crystals. They have that wow factor to them for being an auto for sure. But yeah.
Is there anything that we're missing?
No, I don't think so. Actually, yeah, I think my phone's gonna die on me. I got 12%. We've had a good journey here, man.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good episode. Hell, we're almost 3 hours in at this point.
Oh,
Shit.
nice. Good. I'm glad I'm gonna.
That's a great episode. Yeah, that's a good episode right there.
Awesome.
Did you think you would make it this long? Be
No,
honest with you.
not really. I seen your Indica T one, and I seen that was 55 minutes, and I was like, oh, maybe I might be a 55-minute, or like I don't know how much I could get out, or how
That's
much.
one of the shortest ones.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
her. There's that one, and I mean, it's me 420 girl. Did like a 20-minute episode. She did two of them, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Super fast. But yeah, those were quickies. You had me almost a little worried in the beginning there, to be honest with you, KNF. There is when the prelims, I actually seen you yawn. And I was
no,
like,
I'm
oh
tired.
shit, I better get this shit rolling, man.
No,
I'm
dude,
about burning
I
time
watered
here.
I watered 2 greenhouses today, and that it's not the most fun thing to do sometimes when you're trying to conserve energy for a later event, for sure. Yeah, no, I had to. Did a whole run of activities today, searching through plants and making sure everything's good. Yeah, I'm busy. I work every day. I work 7 days a week. I'm in my garden every day. 4 days off. I'm relentless. You know what I mean? My girls ask a lot of me because I ask a lot of them. So yeah, I'm very, very much a passionate, driven person.
So, one of the other things, the two things I'd like to get from you before you go. One thing I'd like to tell you, and the other thing is something I'd like to ask of you. First thing I'd like to tell you is, please keep that Zoom number, that invitation handy. Uh, because you've done the spotlight, that is the key to hanging out in the wormhole and rabbit holes. So anytime, I don't know if you follow along or how much you follow along the shows, but as I roughly explained to you before, there's a couple versions of the show. There's a spotlight, and there's a wormhole. Basically, if we go short, there's a wormhole, and if there isn't a guest, there's a wormhole. Monday nights are an automatic wormhole. Basically, you now have an open invitation to any wormhole. You're up late at night, you can't sleep, or you just want to hang out Monday nights, whatever. You don't need an invitation. You just need to fucking get your tray ready, cup of coffee, whatever, and come fucking hang out. Please don't even feel like you need an invitation. Don't even feel like you need an invitation. Just feel like, I want to get the fuck on today. And please, come on. If you know it's going to be a rabbit hole, don't even hesitate. If you want to, don't even hesitate. You're an open, great guest. We'd love to hear from you again. Please take me up on that. The second thing I'd like to get from you is basically the soundbite or advertisement for your episode. So basically, what I'm looking for, in my words, my advertisement would go something like this. Hey, this is Eagle Gardens, and I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 329. You could put anything you want on that. Check me out at Instagram, whatever. It's your commercial, brother. You say whatever the fuck you want. And so I'll be ready in just 1 second. Let me get this record going here. I am ready for your soundbite anytime you are, sir.
This is KNF Gardens, fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 329, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, my friend. Man, the pleasure has been all mine and my viewers. Thank you very much. You have laid down one amazing episode. It has been full of knowledge and great conversation. I can't thank you enough for your time. And again, hopefully you take me up and popping in a wormhole on occasion. It would be an honor. So thank you very much. You have a great night. Please get some rest. I'm sure your day probably going to start at daybreak.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody out there. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good night. Do you want to give anybody a shout out before you go? Not that you haven't already, but the floor is yours to say whatever you want.
I want to give a shout out to my press. Thank you for dealing with me and all my hectic schedules, and I love you.
There you go. There you go. Hey, well, thanks again. I'm going to go ahead and wind it up. You can go ahead and let yourself out. But, man, thank you again. It has been 100% a pleasure to have you tonight.
Thank you for your time, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and knowledge, brother. You have a great night. Well, guys, it does wrap up this episode 329 with K&F Gardens. I hope you guys have been enjoyed this episode. I know I have. Please, if you're not giving K&F Gardens on Instagram a follow, please look him up and hit him up for some questions. If you have K&F questions, sounds like he's a pretty knowledgeable guy, and we'll have some great great answers for you. Excuse the cat and mouse. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode. If you guys are looking to hang out in the wormhole, please give me a couple of minutes and we'll go ahead and fire up the wormhole and go ahead and walk her down 420. Thank you guys for hanging out this far. If you're not going to jump into the wormhole, I do appreciate your time. And wow, 135 tonight. Pretty humbling. Thank you guys, all of you guys, for tuning in. You guys know the routine. Please do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives, and eventually they'll change the world. Thank you for tuning in.